Hello and welcome to the Golf Course Lawn Show. My name is Ron Henry and I'm here to help answer your lawn care questions. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. Super happy to have you here. The way this works is really simple. On your screen, you will see a chat box. In that chat box, you can enter your question, concern, comment of the day, and I work through them in the order that they come in. Now, sometimes I have the answers, sometimes I do not, but either way, we have an awesome time talking about lawn care and sometimes life. Guys, it has gotten a little bit colder here in Georgia and probably some other parts of the country. But overall, really like where the trend's going as far as temperatures, and we're on the right track, right pattern for a nice green up here soon. Probably by early March, we should start seeing some more consistent green throughout the country. Some fun things have been happening in the past couple of days. There's been a lot of rain. Because of that, I had to do some cleanup work on the lawn. So you guys may have seen the video that was released today that showed that work. So we can chat about that if you guys want. But really, the thing that is important to cover tonight, and we'll get into it a little bit, is on pre-emergent, on keeping weeds out of your lawn. So we're going to talk about that a little bit in the first part of the show tonight, and then any questions you guys have about challenges you're having in your lawn, plans you have for this season, whether it be goals or things you're trying to solve or get better, or perhaps you're trying to do something new, definitely drop that in the chat and we'll work through them again in the order they come in. So YouTube is our primary platform. So if you are looking to see like a lot of the video and other things that are going to be showing on the channel tonight, be sure to join us on YouTube, but you can watch the show also on Instagram and also on Meta. So if you want to be on those platforms, you can as well too. Just realize that the formatting isn't quite as nice. And if there are any links or anything like that posted, YouTube is the place where you're going to be able to see all of that. All right, let's get into it. Let's see who we have in the show this evening. We have Mr. Archie Amos kicking it off with a super chat. Thank you so much, Archie.
Super chat.
He says, I hope LG is in the chat tonight. I love messing with him. LOL. You know what? Y'all need to leave LG alone. He can get his pressure up. He's a sensitive man. This is why he doesn't come out as much, because you guys are too rough and tumble. But you never know. He might be here. He's probably lurking, knowing him. Just waiting for the right moment to come out. But thank you so much for the super chat, Archie. There you go. Your name in lights, whatever it means to you. Really do appreciate that. Appreciate all the love and support. All the love and support. All right. So Archie has another comment here. He says, "Evening, young man. Got to say, I'm feeling like a baby wanting candy. I can't wait to get on my lawn. Keep giving us great info." Yeah, so this year, again, we're committed to producing more of the longer form content, kind of like what I used to do, some of the old school type stuff. The live streams are still going to obviously be a staple. The shorts, like the good questions that come on the live stream that we think other folks can benefit from, will also still be a thing. We're also trying to add more content as far as some of the more longer form stuff that we used to do in years past. So, some of it will be more highly produced, some of it will be less produced, like the stuff that today, where we're just kind of like showing you guys some cleanup work, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I think for the people that enjoy that type of content, it doesn't really matter what it is. They just want the longer form stuff. And if that's not you, then it's not you. All right, so guys, like I said, we had the better part of 3 days of fairly heavy rain here in Georgia, and despite all the work that I put into trying to keep the lawn as clean as possible, I bag all the clippings whenever I go out and I turf rake and verticut. We bag everything up, don't let anything go back in the lawn. And even with all that, because there was so much rainfall that came down, still ended up with zebra stripes. So I can show you guys what I was working with earlier today. You can see here, that's what I was dealing with in the lawn, and you just can't let that stand. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but the first part of the season, I try and keep the lawn as clean as possible, because no matter how good a job you try and do with bagging clippings, you still end up with debris that tends to accumulate in the lawn over the course of the season. So today I spent some time and I cleaned a lot of that up this afternoon, and took the time and did it and filmed it for you guys. So if you look on YouTube, you'll see a video showing that, all the work that went into that. I broke out the outlet to do some cleanup work, and it did a great job. So if you want to see one way of doing that, of getting rid of zebra stripes, probably the easiest way outside of using like a turf rake to automate picking a lot of this stuff up, is if you have a leveling rake. A leveling rake does a really good job of, if you just went over those stripes or those areas of the grass with a leveling rake, you'll break all that up and it will work it into the lawn really well, where you won't even really see it. I just chose not to do that. In years past, I used to, but this year I chose not to do that, because I really don't want all that stuff to be in the lawn. I want to get as much of it out as I can. So that's what I did today. All right, next up we got Mr. Jason Harrison in the live stream. He says, reporting for duty, vanity question. Okay. What's your thoughts on the best way to reset stripes? I want to go wider, but my old ones are so burned in. Better to wait until the grass is actively growing? Yeah, great question, Jason. So years and years ago, when I switched from singles to doubles, I too face this problem. And what you will, to answer your question, the short answer is yes, it's easier to reset them when the lawn is actively growing. But what I'll tell you is, if you have a way to turf rake the lawn, that will speed things up. Otherwise, what will happen is you will, the lawn, so say you have like a light and dark stripe, right? Let's say you want to make a dark stripe into a light stripe. You start mowing down that way, so you start changing your mowing pattern. What you'll find is the first couple of weeks is the stripes are going to look kind of weird, in the sense that you can have one that's currently burning, that's still going to be the same in the same direction, and the one that you're resetting will be close, but it won't be quite as defined as the other one. And after I'd say the better part of maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks or so, if you have a turf rake, you can get it done faster. You'll be able to get the stripes reset, and they'll look a lot better. But probably the hardest part about doing this is when you're mowing your double wide pattern, not messing it up, because what's going to happen is you're going to be going down what would normally, say you're mowing away from you'd be going down what would normally be a dark stripe. And then when you turn to go back, you can easily get messed up and end up like overlapping in the wrong place. So that's probably the most challenging part when it comes to resetting it. If you just keep mowing, or just keep changing the mowing pattern consistently, the stripes will all change. I did the exact same thing with my lawn. I'm not sure if I can actually show you in this picture. It's not a great picture, great video to show you that. But like, let's see here. I don't know if I have a picture of it that's straight on. Nope, that is not my lawn. Let's see here. Let's see if I got one that is straight on. I can tell you exactly how I went about doing it. I'm trying to find a video or a picture of the back lawn to show you what I am talking about. Okay, yeah, perfect. We can just pause this. All right, so there. Okay, so if you look at, so I can describe this. You see the left side of the patio. The left side of the patio, you see how that light stripe goes all the way back, like it goes outside of the frame, like the light stripe that's on the left side. That light stripe that you see there that goes all the way towards the back, that's out of the picture, out of the shot. That was the original light stripe for that double wide. And so leaving the patio is what I had to change from a dark to light. And it took a while, again, several weeks to really get them to both become even, but that's how I did it. Pretty much you want to pick one area that you can consistently index off of, and then just build everything out from that. So whenever I was changing the mowing pattern, I would start mowing the lawn there. So that stripe that's on the left side of the patio, that's where I would start on my mowing. And then I would mow the right side of the lawn that way, and then go back there and then start mowing the left side of the lawn that way until I got the stripes all defined, and then it was good to go. Because if you just start on one side and try and work your way all the way across, for me, I would get you get messed up. And it only takes one time messing it up to where you're kind of working against yourself. So find like a good indexing point to start from, and then just mow maybe half the lawn in one direction. Mow half the lawn and then go back to that indexing point and mow the other side in the other way. And that's gonna be the best way to do it. It's gonna be a time thing. Hope that helps, sir. I know it's a long answer, but it's not hard. It's just you have to be really diligent about making sure that you are like resetting, like you're resetting the stripes consistently. And again, 3-4 weeks, you should be good to go. A turf rake will speed it up if you got one. All right, next up is Mikey Geiser. He says, hey Ron, my soil test said I need phosphorus, so I bought the 14714 complete, release 901C, and the golf course lawn micros. What's the best application rates for these for spoon feeding, applying to hybrid Bermuda? Thank you. Excellent question, Mikey. All right, so for the 14714, I would apply that at 4 pounds per thousand. The setting that you will see on the how to use section of the product description is gonna, if you have a Scott sprayer, it's gonna be something like 2.5, but that setting should get you at the 4 pounds per thousand rate. So you'll apply 14714 once per month at 4 pounds per thousand. The release 901C, you'll apply that every 2 weeks at 3 ounces per thousand. And then the golf course lawn micros every 2 weeks at 6 ounces per thousand. So if we say we were starting out, we were at the beginning of March, we're gonna get doing this, and say March 1st, you're gonna go out and put out the 14714, 4 pounds per thousand. On the same day, after you do the granular, you could do 901C and the micros in your spray tank at the same time and spray the entire lawn with that, and then let that dry. So you're not going to be watering in the foliar spray, the 901C and the micronutrient. Not designed to be watered in, just spray it, let it dry. And then 2 weeks later, you'll repeat this. So pretty much from the time you start with the foliar sprays of 901C and the micronutrient, you'll continue that throughout the entire season. The rates are low enough that even if you spray during the summer, you're not going to really have issues with burning or like a flush of growth or anything like that. And then the granular fertilizer, the 14714, again, once per month, and you should be good to go. The only thing that will change as you get further into the season, you get into, say, mid to late April, and you start using growth regulator, you start adding, say, some Primo, or if you're a real boss, you're adding some Primo and a new EZ to the tank. It'll be the same thing. Every 2 weeks, it'll go in the tank along with 901C and the micronutrient, and you'll be good to go. So hope that helps, sir. Great question. If you need anything else, definitely let me know. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty simple. The granular once per month, the liquids every 2 weeks, and then just mow your grass. That's all there is to it. Not terribly complicated. Not terribly complicated. All right, so we have another super chat. This one is from Mr. Fernando from Florida. Thank you so much, Fernando. I really do appreciate that.
Super chat.
He says, thank you for all the info recommendations. Fernando from South Florida. Yeah, so I know Fernando has been having some challenges. He's got, his lawn has gotten really thick over, I'd say, the past year. So he's really working on thinning that out. So we've been going back and forth about different strategies to help, reduce the height of cut and thin the lawn out a little bit so it's not quite so spongy. So yeah, I think we've got a plan of action going here soon, and I'm glad we were able to get you all sorted out, Fernando. Appreciate you reaching out and we getting the problem solved. So just keep me posted as far as how it develops. All right. Next up, we got Mars Beads from the state of Tennessee. I believe Tennessee, right? Mars says, "Hi, all here for the Turf Talks. Thanks so much for coming to hang out, Mars. I really do appreciate it." And then BP or BF says, "I live in Atlanta also. I live in Atlanta. I have Bermuda. I'm having a hard time getting it. I think you're saying probably thick. Any advice on that? So if you're saying you live in Atlanta, you have a Bermuda grass lawn, how can you get to thick enough? Okay, well, good thing is this, right? You live in the right part of the country for Bermuda. Like this part of the country, Bermuda grows really well, and you got Bermuda grass. So once we have more temperature, so really whenever like nighttime temps are like in the 60s, that's when Bermuda really lights off and gets going. It starts to grow really aggressively when that starts to happen, and we're not anywhere near that yet. But given that you're in Atlanta, the best thing you can do outside of a good nutrient program, so get a soil test done, feed the lawn based on your soil test results, and then mowing. So the shorter you can maintain Bermuda, the better it's going to do. So really, if you've got the time, maintaining Bermuda under an inch is where it really shines. But the problem with doing that, or the challenge with doing that, is that you really need to have a real mower to be able to pull that off. Outside of that, you can mow Bermuda with a rotary mower at, an inch and a half, 2 inches, and it's going to look good. But I'm talking about when it really, really does well, is when, I guess if you're looking for an exceptional stand of Bermuda grass, you need to be mowing it under an inch with a real mower. And just the regular mowing, regular cutting of the grass is going to naturally encourage growth and is going to cause it to thicken up. So even if you decide, hey, real mowing is not for me just yet, I'm going to use a rotary mower. The advice I would tell you is that the mistake that most people make with Bermuda is, one, they mow it too high, and then second, they don't mow it frequently enough. So if you really want your lawn to thicken up, you got to commit to mowing twice per week, once on the weekends, and then if you can find one day during the middle of the week to cut your grass, that's going to make a big difference as far as just the quality, the visual quality of the way the turf looks. And then that's it, man. So I'd say big thing is mowing. So keep your equipment sharp, keep your mower sharp. If you got a rotary mower, I'd say you're going to be wanting to change the blades or sharpen the blades monthly, maybe more frequently, depending on what your grass is like, but really at least once a month, you're going to want to keep those nice and sharp. And then just your mowing frequency, and then a good nutrient program based on soil test data is what I would tell you. Be pure. Again, Bermuda is not hard to get to really thicken up and look good. As long as, again, you're mowing it properly, you're feeding it properly. And then one thing you didn't mention here, and I'm assuming this is not the problem, but is sunlight. So unlike a lot of turf grasses, like most grasses do better with more sunlight, but Bermuda especially needs sunlight. I mean, not just any kind of sunlight, like direct sunlight. So like from the sun through the atmosphere, straight to the grass, like not filtered through trees or shrubs or anything like that. Like you want direct sunlight. If you have big trees that are causing shade, it's going to cause the grass to struggle. Like Bermuda is very sensitive to sunlight. So that might be the only other thing, but outside of not having enough sunlight, I'd say if you are mowing it properly, you're feeding it properly, it's going to thicken up and it's going to do really well. So hope that helps, sir. That's a big thing. Bermuda's not, the problem you have with Bermuda is that it'll start growing too aggressively when it gets to be hot out. But I mean, if you're feeding it and mowing it, it's going to look good. It's an interesting thing. People look at Bermuda and they say that, you think of it as a grass that could take a lot of abuse, which it can, right? As far as like a sports field grass, it's really good. As far as a grass that has quite a bit of, like, as far as like disease resistance, Bermuda's pretty good. I mean, you might get some brown patch in it in spring if you're not careful. If you get too kind of heavy handed with your nitrogen, but overall, it's a pretty resilient grass. But the thing with it is that if you are trying to keep it looking really good, it's actually quite a bit of work. Like if you to maintain Bermuda the way that it really likes to be cut, and when it really thrives and just looks incredible, like it's actually quite a bit of work. It's a fairly high maintenance type of grass compared to, like, I don't know, like centipede, right? Or like even like Zoysia, which are slower growing. Like centipede doesn't take as much nitrogen. You don't have to mow it nearly as much. Zoysia, same thing. You don't have to mow it as much. But Bermuda, really, you gotta feed it. You gotta mow it a bunch, and when you mow it a lot, it thickens up, and then you have to go out and do things to thin it out some, so you don't start getting scalping. So it's a higher maintenance grass, but man, when you get it right, it is. I mean, as far as a warm season grass, I think it's like tops. It's like tops for a standpoint of like being able to actually use it and looking incredible. It just takes a lot of work to get it that way. But the good news is BP is that just to get it to thicken up, like which is what you want, just mow it, feed it, and that's going to be the big thing. Mow it regularly is going to be the big thing you have to do to keep Bermuda looking good, to get it to thicken up properly. All right, next up we got Jimmy Miller. Says, happy Friday, Ron and Golf Course Lawn fam. I applied prodiamine with Certainty and Celsius last Saturday. Weeds are still green and hanging on. Is that normal? I know this mix is a slow kill, but dang. Yeah, so the thing you have to realize, Jimmy, a couple things, is you applied it last week. What I tell folks is that 10 to 14 days is when you're going to want to start seeing yellowing. And when temperatures are cooler, for most weeds that you're going to be controlling this time of year, they tend to slow down as far as how quickly they grow. So if the weeds aren't growing as quickly or as aggressively, then the herbicide is going to work slower, because you spray, Celsius and or Certainty on a weed you're targeting. That the herbicide's got to work through the plant. I think the technical term is that it's got to translocate through the plant and eventually kill it and kill the roots. And that happens more quickly for most grasses when temperatures are a bit warmer and they are growing more aggressively. But given that we were really warm there for a while, and then we had a few days now of like cooler temperatures, that is going to slow down how quickly you're going to see results. But it is still going to work. It'll still take a little bit longer for you to see that. Remember, Celsius and Certainty are not like they're not like Roundup or like Diquat, that like where you can you can spray a weed and then like literally like a contact type for a herbicide where you spray a weed and literally 20-30 minutes later you're going to start seeing it yellowing. Like these take longer, but the benefit of them is that you can use them and they will take care of the weed. They'll control the weed while not damaging or minimizing damage to your grass. So it's just, there's no free lunch. When temperatures are cooler, they just take a bit longer to work. So I just be patient, man. Give it some more time. If at the 3-week mark is where you're seeing it yellowing up, but they're not dying off enough, you can always hit them again. But I would just give it time. It's only been a week. It's only been a week and the temperatures are cooler. So. All right, Bill Stewart is up next. He says, hey, Ron, what's going on, Bill? He says, get to be here live for a change, break a leg. I'll do my best, I guess, right? I'll do my best. Bill, glad that you're here. Appreciate you coming to hang out in the live stream. And then next we have Jason Yanez. Jason Yanez 1, he says, I was going to take on lawn leveling, Zone 10B, Miami, border with Empire Zoysia. What order should I mow, fertilize, level, pre-emergent in? Looking to do it this upcoming week. Cool. So you're in Miami. All right. Okay. So if you're going to be doing, I guess in Miami, you are pretty far south. So maybe you guys have temperatures where the grass you can level this time of year. It'd be early here, but I guess in Miami, maybe you can pull that off. Okay. So I'm going to do things a little bit out of normal order. What I would have you do, the one thing you don't have here, Jason, is aerating. So I'm a huge fan of aeration as part of a leveling project, because whenever you go out to put your leveling or add your leveling material in, like with you being in Miami, you probably have more of like sandy soil. So you're going to use like a blend of sand and hopefully compost. So you can add some organic material, and to integrate that better with your existing soil, aeration is a good way to do that. So before you go out and level the lawn, you're going to want to aerate it. So if we were going to get ready to aerate to do this entire project, say this weekend, you had like unlimited time to do it, you would mow the lawn a little bit shorter, because it is easier to work the leveling material into the lawn when it's a bit shorter. It's easier to aerate it when it's cut a little bit shorter, and it's definitely easier to spread and work the top dressing into the lawn, into the soil, and into the canopy whenever the lawn is a bit shorter. So I'd say mow first, aerate. You don't have that on here, but you want to add that. I would fertilize after aeration, because you think about it, fertilizer or granular fertilizer anyway needs to get in the soil to be able to work. And we've got the canopy all opened up. We've got the soil profile all opened up. So it's a great way to fast track nutrients into the soil. If you can, also adding like a granular biostimulant like carbonized PNG would be a great thing to do as well. And then level it, right? Then go ahead and level the lawn. Go ahead and get your top dressing material out, work all that in. And then once you're done, then I would apply your pre-emergent and water that in. Normally, so here's the thing, in Georgia, normally with this way this would work is pre-emergent, my pre-emergent's already been applied. But as far as doing leveling or top dressing type work, that really isn't until like a mid-April or May timeframe for most parts of Georgia, at least in the part of Georgia that I'm in, right? So doing pre-emergent and leveling is not something that typically is a thing that happens here. But given where you are in Miami, I guess you can level now. All the practices that I'm talking about, like the aeration, first of all, scalping the lawn and the aeration, those are all going to disturb the soil profile quite a bit. So that's why I'm going to have you mow it shorter, aerate, fertilize, hopefully also add a granular biostimulant like carbonized PNG, level, and then when you're done, add your pre-emergent and then water that all in. That's how I would do it, because then you're going to get more life out of your pre-emergent versus say you applied pre-emergent first, and then a week later you went out and did all this stuff. Then you're going to be disturbing the barrier that you just put down. So it's not going to be as effective. So given that you can do all of this in a few days, the pre-emergent is what I would do last. Another benefit to that too is that, heaven forbid, if any of the material that you're bringing in for top dressing has any weed seeds in it or any other garbage, the pre-emergent will help reduce any of that growing in your lawn. So that's the way I would do it, man. Hopefully that helps. If you have any other questions, let me know. If you're looking for that biostimulant that I'm talking about, carbonized PNG, I will link it for you in the chat here, so you'll also have it. But yeah, I guess it's one benefit to being in Miami, right? You guys have it's fairly tropical. It's almost like the weather back home, so you can level your lawn in February if you so desire. So hope that helps. Need anything else? Let me know. Great question. All right, next up is East Atlanta 13. He says, "What's up, Ron? It's been a while. Your yard was fresh AF last year, man. I appreciate it. He says, that new fertilizer, the 22, you tell someone from Atlanta, the 22-3 micronutrients program, I loved it. But why the change from 3 per to 6 ounces per thousand with the micronutrients? Great question. Okay, so the change from 3 to 6. Okay, so the reason behind that, East Atlanta, is if you are applying, actually, picture makes this easier. If you're doing 901C, right? So the Miramichi release 0 with fertilizer in it. If you're doing that liquid fertilizer along with the micronutrients, you're doing these two products, then I would mix this at 6 ounces per thousand, because the 901C doesn't have any iron, manganese, zinc. It doesn't have any of the micronutrients that are in here, right? If you are mixing the 22-3 and this, so this has iron in it, it has zinc in it, and it also has manganese in it, I believe. There's 3 micros that are in there. So what you can do then is, if you wanted to get a little bit more out of your micronutrient, you could back the rate down a little bit, because this guy already has some micros in it. So if you're mixing these two, you can do them per the label. You can mix it at 6 ounces per thousand, 6 ounces per thousand. That's going to be just fine. You're not going to hurt anything. But if you want to get more applications, like save a little bit of product, you could do this at 6 ounces per thousand. That's never going to really change. And then this, if you're mixing it with a fertilizer that already has micronutrient in it, you could reduce it you could reduce it a little bit. So you could do this at 3 ounces, this at 6 ounces, and it saves you, a little bit of micronutrient. But it's only when you're mixing these two. Mixed with anything else on the store, you would do per the label 6 ounces per thousand. So hopefully that helps her. Per the label, both of these are supposed to be mixed at 3 ounces per thousand. But I gave some guidance in a YouTube short last year saying that if you're mixing these two and you want to get a little bit more mileage out of your micronutrient, then just reduce the rate a little bit, because this guy already has some iron in it. So it's your call. If you want to keep them both at 6 ounces per thousand, you can. It's not going to hurt anything. You're just using more product than, in my opinion, you absolutely have to get the result. Okay. So hopefully that helps explain things. I'm glad to hear that you like the lawn and that the new products worked great, and hopefully you'll use them again this year. So thanks for the feedback, man. All right, next up is Jared George. Jared George is up next. He says, Ron, I was going to get an early start on pre-emergent, but the darn groundhog caused all this snow to drop last night. Well, another week. So yeah, if you have snow still where you are, Jared, yeah, you're probably way a little bit on pre-emergent. You're probably still good. We don't have that here, you know, knock on wood. Hopefully we don't have that here. So pre-emergent is it's out, it's been out. Like I said, I can tell you guys like the true greens and turf marks and the king greens, all of them been spraying pre-emergent since January. Like I saw them out here January 2nd, they're out here rolling around spraying pre-emergent. So around here, it's been going out for a while. Mine was applied a couple weeks ago. So yeah, but I mean, in your case, if you still got snow coming down where you are in the country, you can give it a little more time. You can wait just a little bit longer. All right, next up is Jared. He's weighing in on the resetting of the stripes. He's interesting with the reset of stripes. It goes with a question I always had: is there any benefit to alternating the direction of the same stripe in the same mow or even the next? Okay, yeah. So you're talking about mowing against yourself. Yeah. I mean, you'll get a. It's bad for stripes, but it's probably better for the cut. So if you want, like for example, I think they call it double freaky. I think I read a paper not last year, a couple years ago. I think it's how they talk about how like Augusta, like how they cut the greens, and they do maybe it was another course. I believe it was Augusta though. But they're talking about how they mow the greens, and they do what you're talking about. Like they mow in one. They like say this is I don't know. Say this is my lawn, right? And I mow a pass this way. They mow back on the same line, which from a standpoint of like cut quality, you can think it's going to be better because you're laying the grass in one direction and cutting it, and then you're like folding it back over and you're cutting it this way. So I imagine if you were to put a prism gauge on grass that's cut that way, like it's going to be more even than like how my grass is. Like if you look at my grass, like the stripes, there's a lot of parts of the lawn that pretty much get cut in the same direction for the most part. So you know, it's probably the cut probably is not as good as if I were to cut down and come back up the stripe. But doing that pretty much makes it to where you're not going to have stripes, right? And you notice like the greens on most on most green golf greens you don't have stripes, and definitely on Augusta National they don't put stripes. They don't have any stripes on the greens. So because I want stripes, I set my pattern, and the way I get around or kind of offset the fact that I will mow in the similar pattern each time is that I will mow 90 degrees to it. So while I may have stripes that will go this way consistently, I also have stripes that go this way consistently. And that's a way to, you know, to cut the grass or move it in different directions that helps prevent wear, like rutting, and also helps the cut to be pretty good. So every time I mow, I alternate the directions. I can actually show, well, I don't know if I have a video of me walking on the lawn, but yeah, this video here, the one I showed earlier where we were showing the lawn after all the rain from the hurricane came through, will show the stripes in both directions. So the long and short of it is Jared, is the way I still keep my stripes and also get as good quality as I can is that every time I mow the lawn, I change the pattern. So like say Monday, I mow like this, and then Wednesday, I'll mow like this, and then Friday, I'll go back to mowing like this. So even though the stripes are the same way each time, I alternate every mow to help preserve cut quality and to not create too much wear. Because if you cut the lawn, say the exact same way every single time, you never alternate, you don't go like 90 degrees or like diamonds or anything, you are going to start getting like some rutting, and and what you tend to find is the ends of the rollers, like where the two stripes meet, like that part of the lawn, you start there's more wear that happens there, and the grasses don't look quite as good. So you definitely want to alternate. A good comment, man. I really appreciate it. All right, so we got Cedric has entered the chat. Let me go ahead and get that super chat handle. Thank you so much, Cedric.
Super chat received.
He said, "Hey, Big Ron, I'll be contacting Big Mike this week to service my GM 1000. It's definitely go time. Turfs up, for down, stripe action forever." Thank you so much, Cedric. Yeah, it's a great time of year to get your mowers sharpened. Like this year, my GM 1600 is going to Jerry Pate. So that was gonna go down to, I think they're south of Atlanta. They're gonna be taking care of it. And then my Revolution obviously has got to go to Real Rollers. Can you imagine if I let anyone else touch the mower other than Real Rollers? They would have a fit. So it's going to go back to them for them to freshen it up, and then the allet, we'll see. I gotta get that figured out as far as sharpening goes. All right, thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. Cedric, let me get you set up here. Put some respect on your name because you are currently the highest super chat of the evening. That makes you our show sponsor. So there you go. Your name in lights for whatever it means to you. Hopefully the super chat is not taken away from your Greens Master Sharpening Fund, but I really do appreciate all of the love and support. All right. Next up, we have Jared. He says, a less defined stripe, but I wonder if the grass health or growth would benefit. Probably, but I mean, again, just alternating the direction each time, every time I mow is pretty, has been pretty good. That's worked well for me. Next up is JP. He says, another stripe question. Is it better to mow east-west or north-south for better stripes? That's a good question. I'm trying to think about the way they do baseball fields. Like there's a specific way they tend, if they, on the more premium fields where they orient them. I think it's like southwest, and long and short of it is, I think it's more important, JP, to have the stripes indexed against like the house or something that makes it to which way they look more uniform. In other words, if I mowed like say just diagonal stripes on my lawn, it would not look as good as it looks with it mowed against, across the house, like with the house being square to the house. And if you look at most stripes, I mean, I know that fields are oriented, or some of the better professional sports fields are built so that you try and minimize sun in the eyes of the players. But if you look at the way the stripes are done, the stripes are done indexed to the field. So like you look at a soccer field, like the stripes will be like based on how the camera is, they'll be like narrow, like they'll be on the narrow part of the field going down. And then for baseball fields, they get kind of crazy with the stripes. So they'll do diamonds, they'll do like curved stuff, they do all kinds of things. So I don't know that there probably, to answer your question, there may be a way that is better than another. I can't think of why that would really be. I think if you're getting plenty of direct sunlight, it's not going to matter as much. From a visual standpoint, you want the stripes to be indexed off of like whatever, like if you have like stands or if you have a house, you want it to where it just visually looks good. Like the stripes are like leading lines to the house. Kind of like whenever you do, like if you look like how this, like my studio set up, like you guys may not realize it, but like you look at the lines that this creates and the lines that my shelf creates. So they're like a leading line that all kind of converge here, right? To the center. They kind of all, the V like kind of ends in that corner from here to there. So it's like little small cues that visually make something look good. You don't know why it looks good, but it just looks good. Same thing with your stripes. You want to have them indexed to the house. Like if you like the video that I showed earlier of the lawn. Let me get one with the better stripes of it. These stripes, the way that my back lawn is done, what I end up with is along the fence, like that stripe, believe it or not, isn't perfectly square to the fence. And then also the stripe that is on Alex's side, it's not also perfectly square to the border line. But my stripes are all square to the house, which again, visually just looks, in my opinion, looks better. So I don't think there's a huge thought. I'm not sure if Devin's here, he might weigh in on it. But to me, just visually, I think it looks better when the stripes are indexed against like the building or the field overall than like any particular direction that the sun happens to pass over. All right, next up we got Devin. He's up. He says, what's up, Ron? Looking forward to some great turf talk. I've been loving your new content and videos. I nailed down the PGRs I'm using this year. Primo mixed with another. We'll share when I'm on next. Oh, nice. Okay, so here's the thing. You said you got Primo mixed with something else, and you can share when you're coming on. So next question, it's going to be now is when you're coming on, so we can know what's your PGR concoction going to be, Devin. I gotta tell you, Primo and a new EZ is a thing of beauty. So I don't know what you're rolling with. You might be doing that. You might be doing something different. But yeah, now we want to know, man. Inquiring minds want to know what you're going to be rolling with as far as your pre-emergent, your growth regulator program. I'm trying to find that video one more time so I can show Jared what I am talking about. Yeah, that looks nice too. Those stripes look good. See those? So that's more. So if you do diagonal stripes like this, I think for the front lawn you can take a little more liberty, because whenever someone is driving down the street, especially like on a cul-de-sac, then like having when they're coming around the corner, having diagonal stripes can look nice too, versus having them straight onto the house whenever, because if you think about it, when a car is passing your house along on the front lawn, like they see the lawn at an angle for longer than they see the lawn straight on, if that makes sense. So unless they stop and park in front of your house, would be kind of weird. They don't see the stripes as much as if you angle them, they'll see it more that way for longer. So I can see an argument can be made for diagonal stripes on a front lawn. But if we look here, if you look how my stripes are done, they are indexed against the patio, against the house. So like just visually, it looks nice. So hopefully that helps, Jared, or JP, your question about indexing stripe. Just play with it, man, because I've done it different ways. I pretty much always had them going away from the patio. But if you look at some of my content in years past, I've done away from the patio, and then I've also done diagonal. I've done that too, and that looks kind of nice. There's a time when I used to mow it 4 ways. I used to go, how can I show you? I used to mow like this, like this, like this. Hang on, like first this, and this. So it was like every time the pattern changed. The problem is with double wides, it's really hard. There's a pain to do. So I got into my checkerboard, and I really like my checkerboard, so I'm just kind of sticking with that. Some of you guys keep telling me I need to change to diamonds, but man, I kind of like my checkerboard. I think it looks nice. All right, next up is Toucan Sam. He says, if you mow with a reel mower, does your yard have to be as level as possible? Or can it have a few bumps and divots? It can have a few bumps and divots. What I'll tell you is this. A reel mower is going to scalp less than a rotary mower in most cases. So if you have like some small dips or bumps in your lawn, a rotary mower is going to be more sensitive to that than a reel mower, because you're thinking about it. With a rotary mower, you've got, say this is a rotary mower, right? This is our lawnmower, and you got like 4 wheels, right? Any one of these wheels that go low, right? The entire disc, like the whole, like you got this big, impact disc, this big spinning machete that's running underneath the mower. Any one of these drop or dip, like the entire disc is going to tilt, and it's going to be much more easier for it to scalp the grass. Whereas if we take this as a reel mower, right, and we've got like a nice big drum on the back, because that's what we want on our reel mowers, and on the front we got a nice front roller, none of that caster wheel nonsense. We got a roller on the front, roller on the back, and let's say I'm mowing along and I'm living my best life, and let's say I just didn't level my lawn, or I got like a little low area right here. While like this part of the front roller might be going over that little dip, right? There, you still got the entire rear drum, and you've got most of the front drum that's on the part of the grass that isn't dipping down. So if the mower moves any, it's going to be less than like what a rotary mower would do as far as like dipping in. So reel mowers tend to scalp at the same cutting heights. You will tend to get less scalping with them. If you're trying to mow your lawn really under an inch, under really 3/4 of an inch, that's when some leveling is going to be beneficial. So what I'll tell you is this, Toucan Sam, do you have to level your lawn to reel mow it? No, absolutely not. But what will end up eventually happening is you will end up top dressing your lawn, because you're going to want to go lower and lower, because like grass really shines when reel mowed like under an inch. And unless your lawn is exceptionally smooth, like they did a really good job with putting it in, most lawns aren't going to do well under an inch without some kind of top dressing. Even if it's just spot top dressing, you can need some of that to really get the lawn leveled up to where you can mow lower. Outside of being able to mow lower, like there's a lot of benefits to top dressing too, right? Like if you, from a standpoint of, especially if you're here in Georgia and where we tend to have a lot of clay soil, as far as like improving the soil profile to where you get some sand in there to where it just improves drainage, as far as like diluting the thatch layer, like there's a lot of benefits outside of just I can mow lower to top dressing your lawn with some sand in it. So I would encourage you to do it, but you can still get to your reel mower. You can get going with your reel mower, and your lawn will tell you how low you can go. It's going to dictate how low you can cut, because as soon as if you start mowing along and you scalp, that tells you, hey, that's an area where I've got to raise the height to cut up, because either I'm going to level or fix the area that's high or low that's causing me to scalp, or I'm going to raise my height to cut. Those are your two choices. You don't want to be constantly scalping the lawn over and over and over again. So get your reel mower. Start on a higher setting, and then just slowly work your way down and start seeing what the limitations are, and then you can decide whether top dressing this season is something that you want to do. You don't have to do it all at the same time. So if you got a reel mower like this season, you don't have to top dress the same season. You could do it. You could do it next year. You can spread it out if you want to. But I would be lying to you if I said that eventually at some point lawn leveling or top dressing is not going to be in your future if you end up reel mowing your lawn. So hope that helps. BP says, great, thank you very much. You are very welcome. And he says, also, when do you recommend scalping? After fall, spring, or during it? So there's different thoughts on this, Toucan Sam. I am a fan of, I didn't actually scalp my lawn this year. So I used my verticutter to thin it out, and I did a cleanup cut with the mower. So I guess you could technically call that scalping, but it's not scalping in the truest sense, where I like drastically lowered the height of cut and like took a bunch of material out. So I used my verticutter to thin the lawn out, and then I used the Revolution to just clean everything up once I was done. As far as timing to do that, you can scalp if you wanted to start now. You could, assuming you're in Georgia. If you wanted to wait until March timeframe to do it, you can. I've done it both ways. I've scalped my lawn because I've played with this. I've done it so many times. I've played with it a bunch of times over the years, different periods of when I get going with it. I've done it as early as the first week of February. This year I did it a little bit. This year I was pretty close to that. This year I was about maybe 1 week into February when I did it. And then I've also done it as late as in March, like mid-March. So all of them can work. Any of them can work. The big benefit to doing it, especially if you have a bigger lawn, in my opinion, is if you do it a little bit at a time, like say starting now, and then you maybe do your final scalp, say in March, is it's a lot less work. Like if you really have a bigger lawn, a lot of material can come out of the lawn if you're really reducing the height of cut by quite a bit. So to do that all in one weekend is not great, is not fun. So doing some now and then doing some in March is one way to go about it. And that's what I've typically leaned towards doing. Like I've done, like for this year, I'm pretty good, but I did like that big pile of debris that you guys saw. I did that over a couple of sessions to get it to that point. So it's really your call. I would highly recommend scalping if it's something you've got the time to do. There's a lot of benefits as far as like just resetting the lawn, getting a lot of that old growth and dead material out to help encourage a faster green up. Is like there's tons of benefits to it, and whether you do it now or if you do it next month, it's not going to make a huge difference. I guess one benefit to doing it now is it's cooler. It's a cooler time of year, and you can get it done now. And if you're using a reel mower to do it, it gives you time to get your scalping done and then send your reel mower out to get it freshly ground and sharpened up. Versus if you were to do it, say next month, that's one negative to waiting till March, is that if you do it next month, you're going to be sending your mower in to get sharpened when pretty much everyone else is going to be doing it, and that could be a negative for you unless you have another machine to use while it's out. So, hope that helps. It's a good question. Long short of it is it doesn't really matter either way. Either one will work well. All right. Next up is R Carter 911. He says, greetings. I received my soil test back and wanted to know if there's any kind of liquid triple 12 or any kind of substitute. I don't know about liquid triple 12 exactly. There is, I think we have a, like Greens Plus, I think is close to that. It's not triple 12 though. I've not seen a triple 12 liquid R Carter. There might be, but I've not seen one. As far as a liquid fertilizer that, has that similar analysis, like we have this Greens Plus, which is, it's a 1410, 14410, not quite what you're looking for. So that's a thing. But what I would tell you is this, right? Is if your soil test results are saying that you're deficient in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, While you could use liquids, like liquids are not a great way to build up nutrient levels in the soil. Like I would much rather push you towards a granular fertilizer for that. Like if you wanted to use a liquid fertilizer that has all three, like kind of like the Greens Plus or like our 22-3 fertilizer, like that would be okay. But if you're trying to increase the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that's in the soil, I'm a fan of using granular fertilizer to do that more so than liquids. So I've not seen a liquid triple 12. Doesn't mean there's not one, but it's not something that I've ever come across. But again, if you're looking to amend the soil based on your soil test results, a granular fertilizer is what I would push you to. I think we carry a triple 12 in the golf course lawn store. But the one that I would really use would be this. Like our 14-7-14 is a great choice because not only does it have all three macros, but you also have some kelp in there, some kelp, some humic acid. There's a bit of everything that's in this. So as far as being both a biostimulant and a complete fertilizer, it's got a bit of everything. So that's really what I would push you towards. So hope that helps. Hopefully my explanation makes sense, that in my opinion, the granular fertilizers are better for building up nutrient levels in the soil more so than liquids are. So hopefully that helps you. And if you're looking for the 14-7-14, I know you're on Instagram, but I'll link it here in the chat for you anyways. So you'll have it, and hopefully that helps out. All right. Next up, we have, hard part here is figuring out where I left off, is Steven Thompson. He says, I sprayed prodiamine on Sunday, and next week we are back to the low teens here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Not too worried about it. Just checking if you've had this happen. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. I don't expect that whenever I spray Pre-Emergent in February, that from like now that Ron has sprayed Pre-Emergent on his lawn, like the heavens and nature will bend to my will, and there shall only be warm temperatures going forward. That'd be nice, but it doesn't really work that way. So you are going to see highs and lows as far as temperatures, like moving into March, that's just the way it's supposed to be. But getting your Pre-Emergent out a bit early is better than getting it out late. Like I had an email from a viewer today where they said, hey, I put out my Pre-Emergent last week and I'm seeing weeds on my lawn this week. I'm like, yeah, I mean, the Pre-Emergent you applied now is really going to help prevent crabgrass, and I mean, crabgrass, goosegrass, spurs, like weeds that are more like warm, that tend to grow whenever temperatures get hotter. So the Pre-Emergent you're applying now is more about keeping late spring and summer weeds out of your lawn. The weeds you're seeing in your lawn now started growing months ago. They started germinating in late fall, January timeframe. So the weeds you see in your lawn in January and February are prevented by the Pre-Emergent that you applied in September, October timeframe. So your fall Pre-Emergent is what keeps your lawn weed free during this time of the year. Your spring Pre-Emergent, the stuff you're putting in, the Pre-Emergent you apply now, is what's going to help keep your lawn, or at least reduce the amount of weed pressure you're going to have in your lawn in the late spring and summer months. So those are the things you have to worry about. And Stephen, you didn't do anything wrong. I wouldn't worry about it. You are going to see fluctuations in temperature. It's not gonna matter. You did the right thing by getting your Pre-Emergent out a bit early. So good stuff, man. No worries at all. Like I look at the 10-day here in Northeast Georgia. Yeah, so it's 40s, 50s, 40s. We have one section. So on the 20th, it's supposed to get really cold here. It's supposed to get down as cold. We have one day where it gets to be 35 degrees. And then we're back into the 40s, 50s, and 60s again. So yeah, you're fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Stephen Voss is up next. He says, I just put down some dormant Zoysia sod this week. Is it safe to sand level this spring in the May after rooted? Yep, no problem at all. Once your Zoysia has rooted in and you're mowing it, so in other words, like it's you can tell it's rooting in. There's new growth, new shoots that are coming out. Like you're seeing like fresh grass, and you're mowing regularly. Yeah, you can absolutely level your lawn. You can top dress it. What I would tell you, Stephen, is go light. Like a mistake that I think a lot of people make when it comes to leveling their lawn is they will go from a lawn that's relatively bumpy, and they want to go from like bumpy to like glass pool table smooth in one go. And I personally think that's a mistake. Like going up there and trying to put down an inch of material in one setting is more stressful to the grass. It takes it longer to recover. You're going to create more problems for yourself if you get any kind of heavy rainfall because you don't have the grass to hold the material in place. It's going to kind of move all over the place and create kind of a mess. So what I would tell you is can you top dress your level your zoysia this later this spring? Yes, absolutely, no problem at all with that. But go light, like limit the amount of material you're putting down. So between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, and that's going to do really well. Like what you should see is that you're going to see some green. You're going to have some areas where it's just sand because you got some low spots. But overall, you want there to be. You don't want to turn the lawn into a parking lot. You want to have some areas that are higher, some that are lower, because that's the way it's supposed to look after you're done leveling it. So hopefully that helps. And the nice thing is that you can also do multiple rounds in a season. So let's say you did your first top dressing in like May. So you do it in May. By the 3rd week of May, you can be largely recovered. If you wanted to do another one late June, early July, that would also work well too. So you can do multiple rounds in a season if you want to, but just I'd say just look at it as a multi-year, as like a multi-year type project. You know what I mean? Like sports fields where they just are just coming in there, they've got tons of budget and they can build it all from scratch. Yeah, they can build the field, they can be pretty much good to go or in great shape, like pretty much the first time around, maybe just light top dressing and they're done, right? But like a lawn, like a residential lawn, depending on where you're starting, it may take you a year or two, a couple of years to get it to where you want. Like you look at my lawn, the way it looks now, it's been I can't even tell you how many times it's been top dressed. It's been fully top dressed at least 4 times, probably 4 or 5. And then there's some spot leveling here and there that happens along the way. So just, you can do it, but don't get too aggressive to where you're trying to go from 0 to hero all in one season. Also because you have zoysia, right? So if you went too heavy on zoysia, like it's a slow growing grass. If you bury too much of it, you're much more likely to have problems and injury than you would with say something like Bermuda. Like Bermuda, you can, for better or for worse, you can abuse Bermuda quite a bit and it pretty much will take it. But zoysia, you really don't want to do that. So for all these reasons, to answer your question in a nutshell, yes, you can level, go light. If you want, do another round a couple of months after the first round of top dressing / leveling. All right. All right, next up is Colin. CPM says, enter the chat. He says, what's up, Ron? Hopefully your Friday has been well. I can't complain. This was a special Friday, kind of an interesting one. Yeah, one for the books. It says, question. It seems like I've got a couple of areas where crabgrass is poking through. I want to turf rake, but I'm hesitant. Don't want to spread it. Okay, so your lawn, from what I remember, Colin, is a couple things. One, I think you're in California, so you might have crabgrass. Here's the thing. A lot of folks send reach out to me this time of year and say, hey, I got crabgrass on my lawn, when what they really have is Poa annua. So I'm sure you're pretty, you can look between the two and you can differentiate the difference between like crabgrass and Poa. But given the size of your lawn, man, you could turf rake, but if you probably could just dig it out. Like it's not that much to where you can probably just pull it. If it's Poa, same thing, you could pull it. You could hit it with certainty. I'm trying to think of, because you have paspalum, so there's your list of the herbicides you can use on it are more. The list is smaller than like Bermuda and zoysia. So if it's only a few little tufts of crabgrass here and there, a few tufts of Poa here and there, I would just pull it. Like for example, on Alex's lawn, he had a few areas there. He had some Poa. So this afternoon, I was bored. I just got my hand weeding tool, just went out there and I just manually pulled them out. You know what I mean? So like, not everything has to be like herbicides are not necessarily the answer for everything. If you got like a big widespread problem, then sure, they can be, that can be the way to go. But if you just got like one little clump here and there, just pull it, man. Pull it and move on. And then if you do that, then you don't have to really worry about if you turf rake spreading anything around, because you're gonna get that out of the lawn. All right, and you said, thoughts? I'm leaning towards not doing it until the crabgrass is knocked out. I feel like it's a better approach. Yeah, I would, so if you have any weeds in your lawn, let's say you have Poa annua, right? And it's got the white flowers in them, right? So it's throwing seed heads. Then yes, I absolutely agree with you. I would not turf rake that until I removed it, because you might just, be blowing the seeds all over the place whenever you go over the lawn. If you remove the weeds first and then you want to go turf rake, then that would be fine. You know what I mean? But if whatever weed you are trying to get rid of, you currently see it flowering, like you see it's got seed heads, it's gone to seeds, then I would remove it before doing anything that has a potential of spreading these seeds all around your lawn. And you can do that with just pulling it. And he says, cool. So hopefully that helps, Colin. And then next up is the notorious Zaz. He says, hey, Ron, Tiffway 419 in Louisiana. Turf has really taken off in the last week, full on green and growing like crazy. Just did a scarifier and turf rake today. Is it too early to aerate and top dress? So here's what I would say. You want to aerate. Ideally, you want to aerate and mow the lawn, or sorry, and top dress the lawn, level the lawn when it's actively growing. So I'm not sure where in Louisiana you are. Maybe you're near the Gulf. I guess now the Gulf of America. And if you want to, if you're regularly mowing it, and you want to go out and core aerate, that would be fine. But if the lawn is still dormant, then I wouldn't. So when you're saying it's green, it's growing like crazy, then sure. And if you're near the Gulf or something, and you get temperatures, and it's gonna keep doing that. If you want to core aerate, that would be okay. If you want to level, again, it's still kind of early for February, but I mean, maybe you have climate that's like what the gentleman that's in Miami has, right? Maybe you got like, it's just hot where you are, and it's just, you'd be fine. You'd be good to go. So to answer your question, can you? Yes. But let like the temperature and how your grass is doing really be your guide. But core aeration and leveling, as long as the grass is growing, you're good to go. You're good to go, because then it'll be able to recover from that. Keep us posted on which way you decide to go, Notorious Zaz. The Notorious Zaz. Yeah, let us keep us posted on what you decide to do, because that is the like the video that I did a couple days ago on like the ABCs of lawn care, and A is for aeration. We talked all about this, and that for cool season lawns, the time to aerate is really spring and fall. You really don't. You ideally don't want to aerate cool season turf grass in the summertime. For warm season grass, which you Tiffway 419, like spring all the way through into summer is a good time to go out and do it. So really, I guess in your case, now through July would be absolutely fine. Here in Georgia, most folks that aerate their lawns will not do so before like March, sometime in March or April timeframe. So so again, maybe just where you are, temperatures or conditions are just such that you can do it now. And if that's the case, then you want to do it, you want to get done, go for it. The benefit to getting it done now is the temperatures are nicer. It's nicer to be outside, not quite as hot. So you will have to know based on what you're seeing in your lawn. All right, he says, top dress, if so, when could I do it? In a few weeks. I don't see any cold temps in the immediate forecast at all. Okay, cool. Yes, so you answered my question. So if you don't see any cold temps coming in, so pretty much the growth that you're seeing now, you don't have any reason to think that's going to slow down. So your lawn is greening up, you're mowing it. Not that it's just only greening up, but it's growing enough that you're having to regularly mow it. If that's the case, you check both those boxes. If we're in the middle of February, if say March 1st, because we give you more time, if you by March 1st you want to core aerate and top dress your lawn, assuming the conditions stay the same, like temperature keeps going up and you're mowing it and all this stuff, then yeah, that's gonna be absolutely fine. No problem with doing that at all. All right, Jimmy Miller is up next. He says, so another prodiamine Celsius certainty combo. Question, do you leave the surfactant out or do you still add it to the mix with dye? Great question, Jimmy. So whenever I am mixing pre-emergent along with a post-emergent herbicide, I will omit surfactant. No, I don't add any spreader sticker. That's the only time when I don't do it. Because if you think about it, right, like the timing of those two types of herbicides, right? Like of the two, the pre-emergent is the one you really want to get, I don't say you want to get right, but it's more important that it's right more so than the post-emergent herbicides, meaning you can always go back a couple of weeks later, and if you need to spray again, you can. But the timing of pre-emergent is such that it's really based on having it applied and in the soil before soil temperatures get too high to where weeds are starting to grow, and it's not really going to work as well. So for that reason, whenever I mix Celsius and Certainty or really any post-emergent herbicide along with pre-emergent, I don't use any surfactant. Also, when I do that, because my main focus is the pre-emergent, I'll either use a flood jet tip, or it's one of the few times, I think I still got it here, it's one of the few times when I will break out an air induction tip. So this guy here, which you guys never really see me talk about, this guy is kind of like in between a foliar spray tip, like the very fine droplet spray tip, and the flood jet tip. It creates a slightly larger, slightly coarser droplet than the fine one, and not quite as big as the flood jet. So if you're doing that, like this guy could be a good option. And then obviously once you do that, if you're mixing pre-emergent or post-emergent herbicides with your pre-emergent, you're not going to want to water it in right away. So let's say tomorrow morning you're going to go out and you're going to spray prodiamine mixed with Celsius and Certainty on a lawn that's a weed patch and that you're also trying to keep weeds out of. You would spray it tomorrow morning, and then I really wouldn't water until, say tomorrow Saturday. I wouldn't water till like Monday. I would give it all of Saturday, all of Sunday, and then Monday you could run your irrigation to water the pre-emergent, to wash that down into the soil, because that's going to give Celsius and Certainty enough time to dry and be taken up, be absorbed by the leaves of the weeds, the plants you're trying to absorb, that you're trying to target. And so you're kind of splitting the difference. You get benefits of both. All right. Hopefully that helps, sir. All right, guys. We got 104 people in the live stream and only 61 likes. Surely we can do better than that. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put on some intermission music. I'm gonna have a sip of water, and I'm gonna ask you guys to please hit that like button ever so gently. It's a free way to support the channel. Costs absolutely nothing. And I'll put some music on, drink some water while you guys do that. Look for the next question while I'm at it too. This music sometimes gets LG to come out, guys, but I don't know if it's going to work tonight. He might be busy. All right. Next up, we have Colin. He says, the pre-emergent I use also has post-emergent capabilities, so it has tainted and turned some of the crabgrass yellow. Just not trying to spread the weed seeds, etc., and have a headache later. Now, I hear you, Colin. I mean, it's a good thing if you can let the weed die off or remove it, because that would be best. Because especially if it's got seed heads, right? The big thing is if it's young crabgrass and hasn't really gone, there's not really any seed heads yet, then there's less risk. There's less of a problem of you causing a big outbreak if you go out and like mow the lawn or turf rake it. But if it's got seed heads, then yeah, you're going to want to eliminate it. You're going to want to get it out of the lawn before you do something that could cause you to spread that all over the place. So sounds like you're on your way to it being dead anyway, based on the pre-emergents you're using. So yeah, maybe it's going to be a non-issue. Let's see here. He says, Cornelius Grant says, how long does shipping to Kentucky take? Looking to order 2 bags of pre-emergent. A couple days. I mean, it's whenever, if you order anything, if you order before noon, it will go out the same day. So in other words, if you order today, it will likely, it is going to ship on, I think it's open President's Day. It'll ship Monday, and then however long it takes UPS or FedEx to get to Kentucky, which I'd imagine from Georgia and South Carolina is a couple of days. So by you definitely would have it before the weekend. So if your goal is, hey, next weekend I want to go out and put down pre-emergent, you're going to have it before the weekend. That's not going to be an issue. So hope that helps, Cornelius. Yeah, we tend to ship pretty quickly. So get your order in. It'll ship out Monday, and then you'll have it a few days after that because you're not that far from where we are. All right. Next up is Lois Jean. Lois Jean has entered the chat. She says, I just got my soil test back. Do I need to get the fertilizer that was recommended for me to use? And I don't see what type of grass I have. Do I have? Thank you. Yeah, Lois. So if your soil test results are recommending a particular fertilizer, yeah, then I would use either that or a formulation that is or that similar to that that makeup. So if it says you need nitrogen and potassium but no phosphorus, then I would get a fertilizer that has nitrogen and potassium but no phosphorus in it. So the numbers don't have to be exact, but as far as the nutrients that are supposed to be in it, like that, you do want to get right. So if you want, you can email your soil test results to me. I can take a look at them after the show. Send them to ron@golfcourselawn.com. You can send them there, ron@golfcourselawn.com, and I'll take a look and I'll give you some thoughts and recommendations as far as what I would apply if that helps. And as far as what kind of grass you have, yeah, so the type of grass or determining the kind of the species of grass you have isn't normally something that's done as part of soil testing. Uh, I mean, depending on where you are in the country, again, if you want to send a picture of the grass, I can I can tell you what I think it is. If your grass is dormant this time of year, a it's probably a warm season grass like Bermuda or Zoysia. So it's I mean, another thing you could do too is if your neighbors have the same kind of grass as you could ask them, hey, what kind of grass do we have in the neighborhood? You didn't your soil test, whatever lab did the analysis, they didn't mess up or anything by not telling you, hey, you have this kind of grass, because that's not something they normally will do as part of looking at your soil test results. So if you need the help, again, send me an email, ron@golfcourselawn.com. I'll take a look at it and I'll let you know what I think. All right. Next up is CXG 5 Live says, hey, Ron and fellow lawn lovers, how y'all be? Can't complain, man. Living the dream, cannot complain. It's been pretty good. Next up is R. Carter 911. He says, good afternoon. He says, I just received my soil test back and want to get a recommendation of some liquid fertilizer. Can I share my test results? Yeah. If you want to email to me, ron@golfcourselawn.com, I will. I can take a look and let you know what I think. If you're looking to get your soil test results looked at over on the show, kind of like with the same thing I said when it comes to like lawn pictures. Like, I don't mind showing like soil test results or pictures of your lawns, that kind of stuff. But if you can do it, if you can email them to me like on Friday prior to the show, it makes it a lot easier, because having to like get the pictures in email and format them properly, sometimes you guys will have them in a format that my software doesn't support. So if you can email the pictures and or soil test results before the show, it makes it a lot easier to get it on there. But if you just want a recommendation, R. Carter, email me, ron@golfcourselawn.com. This is my email address right here, right there. So send an email to there and I'll take a look at it and I will let you know what I think and what I would do. So hope that helps, sir. Feel free to do that. Devin is up next. He says, Ron and Gerald, that's a tournament backlap bell. I have out a crew out to do that for a big tournaments. We will do one direction, down and back, then another direction, down and back. Essentially, he says part one. Where's the other part? Essentially doing a quadruple cut helps the green speed and firmness. After that, our roller will roll those greens. Nice. Devin, don't hold me to this, but I want to say years ago, I read a paper about how they cut the greens at Augusta National. And they do something similar. Like, they have a name for it. I think they call it like double freaky or something. They have some kind of weird name they used for it. But it was, they would make a pass down and then pass back up on the exact same line. And it sounds like you guys do the same thing. But it's a lot of work. So it's like a quadruple cut. I bet it looks really good though. But if you take a prism gauge, you put it on that green, like everything is like just same height. Nicely cut. No stragglers at all. Cool, man. So you got to share this, man. In addition to letting us know what PGR, what growth regulator you're mixing with Primo, you got to tell us a little bit more about when you are. That's a good topic, Devin. As far as like how you guys prepare, like how you normally maintain the course and greens versus whenever you're preparing for a tournament. Like what changes you guys make in both like mowing, like cultural practices, mowing stuff, and then also like if there's any changes in like inputs, like nutrient, watering, like any of that kind of stuff, like how you guys, maybe things you do to try and firm things up or whatever. It'd be interesting to know like what changes. So that'd be a good topic whenever you come on next time. All right, Joseph Kim is up next. He says, I scalped my grass last week. Scalped my grass last week about 2/10 below my intended how to cut. I like that. He says, do I cut on a regular schedule to maintain the strands that grow faster? Yes. So it's a good question, Joseph. So what you're asking is, so you scalp your lawn to 2/10 or a quarter of an inch or so underneath the height of cut where you intend to maintain your lawn. And you're asking, hey, not the entire lawn is growing in. Do I, once the lawn starts growing, do I mow the entire lawn on a regular schedule for the areas that are growing faster than others? And the answer is yes. So whenever my lawn wakes up, it doesn't all wake up all evenly at the same time. There's some areas that get more sunlight and heat than others, and obviously the grass grows faster there. But whenever I go out to mow, I mow the entire lawn. I don't only just mow the areas where I can see there's more growth. The whole thing gets cut. So yes, that's what I would do. I would once you start mowing, I would mow the entire thing. It's a good question, man. I like it. I like what you do. I like the fact that you said, you know what, you didn't create a bunch of headache for yourself. You said, you know what, I'm gonna scalp. I'm not going down to the dirt. I'm just gonna go down I'm gonna do like 2/10, a quarter of an inch below where I intend to maintain it. I'm gonna get a lot of the benefits, not create a bunch of headache and wear and tear on my equipment. I like it, sir. I like it. I like it. And you will. I mean, again, it's less work for you, and you still get the benefits of scalping your lawn. All right. So next up is we got that one from Devin. And he says, Robert Rainey stopped in. He says, just stopping by to hit the like button and say hello. What's going on, Robert? Thanks for stopping by to say hello. I appreciate it. Appreciate you doing that, sir. That guy's entered the chat. And then Mr. Hayes says, do you have any info on Fescue, Mr. Fescue? I mean, I guess what in particular do you want to know about, about Fescue? I mean, it doesn't, as far as, what can I tell you about Fescue? As far as a cool season grass that you can actually grow in Georgia that won't die in the summer, Fescue is a good choice. That's probably it's probably the only cool season grass that you really see around here that is kept year round. Now, granted, in the summertime you have to put an ungodly amount of water on it to keep it alive. But there's that. You can't mow it quite as short as Bermuda. It doesn't spread. So fescue, it's considered what you call more of a bunching type grass. So whereas Bermuda and Bermuda and Zoysia, they can spread. They can throw shoots. They can throw tillers. They can throw shoots up, and they can also spread via stolons. So surface runners is an easy way of explaining it, and also via rhizomes or underground or runners that are in the root system. Fescue tends to grow more in clumps, right? So fescue is that way. Perennial ryegrasses are that way. Kentucky bluegrass can spread. It doesn't have stones, but it can spread via rhizomes. So Kentucky bluegrass can also creep a little bit. So I'm not sure exactly what question you have about fescue. I guess if you like taller grass and you want a cool season grass, you want more of that crunchy look and a taller grass, it can be a good choice. You can't mow it as short as Bermuda. The where the crown grows for fescue, it's further up from the ground than Bermuda. So if you mow it short like Bermuda, you're going to damage it and kill it. It doesn't tolerate low mowing. What else can I tell you? Yeah, I mean those are the big things. I mean, you gotta mow it taller, gotta water it more if you're in Georgia. And as far as cool season grasses that will tolerate heat, it's one of the better ones compared to ryegrass or Kentucky bluegrass. So if you have another question, a more specific question, I can see if I can help answer it. But that's, I guess, fescue in a nutshell. All right. Rose City Boy, or Rock City Boy is up next. It says, I live in North Carolina. Can I still kill weeds in a dormant lawn before the green up? Any other things I should be doing like 007? Okay. Can you kill weeds in a dormant lawn before a green up? Yes. What you're going to want to do is to first identify what kind of weed you're dealing with, and then find a selective herbicide that's labeled to control that weed. So if say you got Bermuda grass and you got, say, henbit in your lawn, which is like a broadleaf weed, and sometimes they can produce purple flowers. You could use Celsius, which is an excellent selective herbicide. And the reason why I say selective is that one thing you'll see, Rock City, sometimes you'll see people, particularly on forums, whatever, they'll be saying, hey, your grass is dormant. You can just go out and get some Roundup, get some glyphosate, and you can just use that to kill weeds in your lawn because your grass is dormant. And the problem is that unless it's truly 100% dormant, you are going to cause injury to your lawn. So to me, it's not worth the risk of using a non-selective herbicide like Roundup, like glyphosate, on grass that you care about. So it's better to use a herbicide that is labeled as safe for use on your lawn. So again, I imagine you have Bermuda or Zoysia because you see your grass is dormant. And depending on the weed you have, if it's like a broadleaf weed like henbit, you could use Celsius. If it is a grassy weed like Poa annua, like annual bluegrass, you can use Certainty. These are both safe for warm season grass like Bermuda and Zoysia, so you can spray them and they will control the weeds and they will not damage your grass. Because what will happen, what I've seen personally happen, both live my own eyes and also you see it in some of these forums, is that folks will go out and they'll spray glyphosate. They'll use glyphosate to kill, like say, POA or other weeds that are in the lawns this time of year, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I won. I won this round by killing the weeds with that herbicide." And then when springtime rolls around, like a month, 4 or 6 weeks from now, when the grass starts coming out of dormancy, you're going to have patches in the lawn that are dead or lagging behind the rest of the lawn because the grass that you thought was fully dormant wasn't fully dormant. So I just don't think it's worth the risk. These herbicides are a bit more expensive than using glyphosate, but they also won't kill your grass. So that's what I would tell you. Any other things you should be doing like 007? Yeah. So if you're talking about pre-emergent, yes, I am a fan of getting pre-emergent out. Now would be a great time to get your pre-emergent applied. I'll show you a couple of options here. If you go to the golf course lawn store and go to shop and then go to weed killer and then click on pre-emergent right there. You got for 007. So you've got Dimension, you got with the active ingredient dithiopyr, or you've got prodiamine, it's the brand name Barricade, or you got prodiamine. You got these two as far as granular pre-emergence. Either one of these will work well. As far as like the quick too long didn't read between the two, the differences is that Dimension is labeled to control a few more weeds than prodiamine is, so it's going to cost a little bit more. And it's unique in the sense that it is both a pre-emergent and can have some post-emergent control of crabgrass. So as far as a pre-emergent to use in the springtime, this is an excellent choice. In fact, it's only like $5 more. Is not a big swing for most people to be able to go with this over prodiamine. The benefit to prodiamine is that again, some people will disagree with this, but in my opinion, prodiamine tends to, as far as control, tends to last a little bit longer. But either one of these would be a great choice for this time of year. Like you want to get your pre-emergent out before the average soil day, the 5-day soil temperatures are in the mid 50s. So now would be good for doing that. There's no reason to wait until soil temps are in the 50s consistently to apply a pre-emergent. You want it in the soil before then, because the weeds that we're trying to keep out of our lawn begin to germinate when soil temps cross 50 degrees or mid 50s going warmer. So when it comes to pre-emergent, the short answer is a bit early is better than a bit late. So I'm a big fan of getting your pre-emergent out a little bit early, Rock City. And again, you can go to the golf course lawn store. I'll set a link here in the chat. You may or may not be clickable for you to our pre-emergent section, and that will get you what you need. Either one, Dimension or dithiopyr or prodiamine, either one of those will work. Okay. All right. Next up is Joseph Kim. He says, I saw a liquid dethatcher today. He says, is it any good or is it the same as liquid aeration? Okay. Okay. So are there some benefits to those products? Yes. Are they a replacement for core aeration? No. In my opinion, no. They're not even in the same universe as running a core aerator over your lawn, and they're not even in the same universe as using like a actual dethatcher or verticutting your lawn or turf raking your lawn. So, I mean, if you went out and aerated your lawn and you wanted to use one of these products that tend to stimulate microbial activities, so the idea is that they can help break down thatch. In theory, yes, but like, I mean, like if you take that approach, really any of the products that we carry from Miramichi Green do the exact same thing. They're considered, they help stimulate microbial activity, but I don't market them, or they're not marketed as liquid dethatchers, because the amount of time, first of all, that it takes for that to really have an effect, it's not, like I said, probably a good way of saying it is that the marketing overstates the effectiveness of those products in the time frame that most people expect them to work. That's probably a better way of saying it. Do they work, or do they have some benefits? Yes. Is a liquid dethatcher a replacement for mechanical cultivation? Not a chance. Is liquid aeration a replacement for mechanical core aeration? Not a chance. They're not even remotely in the same universe. If they were, professional sports fields would use them, but you'll still see on some of the nicest fields, the nicest golf courses, they still aerate them. And believe it, you think about it, that's a big deal for them because the field can't really be used after you core aerate. The greens will be closed for, depending on how aggressive you go, will be closed for a little bit of time after you core aerate. But the reason why they do it is because it is the most effective way to reduce compaction, to allow air, water, nutrients to get into the soil. If you're trying to dilute like fat, so you want to also like put down like a big benefit of aeration, core aeration, is that because you're creating voids in the soil, if you top dress after that, all the sand that you're putting in is a great way to dilute some of the organic material, some of the fats that's at the top there, the sponginess. So all those are things that you can only do when you're using a mechanical aerator, an actual machine. You can't do that with a liquid product. So if you want to core aerate and then also use some of the liquid products along with it, sure. But I just personally think that the marketing with them is overstates the effectiveness of what they are designed to do. So your call. You can get one if you want or use them if you want. But I would still go out and just get a regular machine and core aerate your lawn. Or if you don't want to do it, pay someone to come do it. That's also an option too, because that is the way. That is the consistently, I'd say you should say measured way to produce demonstrated results of relieving compaction, along with a ton of other benefits for your lawn. So hope that helps, Joseph. If you need anything else, let me know. But yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, if you get like a biostimulant and it's also got like that as like a footnote saying, hey, it also does this too, then sure. But realistically, any of these, you could say, I'll show you here an example. If you go to shop and then let's go to Miramichi Green, our biostimulant section, right? Any of these, like the carbon kit, like all these guys are all about increasing microbial activity. So Release Zero, NutriKelp, and BioSpectrum is actually a microbial package. Like it's designed to help boost soil biology. So technically you could take all of these and say, hey, these are a liquid dethatching product, right? But again, it works slower and it's not really what they're designed to do, and they don't replace actual dethatching or actual core aeration. So that's why they're not marketed as such. So hope that helps. Again, your call, but I personally wouldn't waste my time or money with it. Bill Stewart's up next. He says, I sent pictures of my winter project. Garage has gotten way too small with all my equipment, fertilizer, etc. My wife is like, why do you need so many mowers for only one lawn? She doesn't get it. Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. You have to say this, right? It's kind of like fishing poles, like, and other things, like 2 is 1 and 1 is none, right? So having like one mower, if you have to, especially if it's a real mower, having one, it's okay, but then you have to have a backup because you can send that one out to get worked on, or if it's down, you still got to be able to cut. So I can see having more than one mower. I haven't seen any pictures, Bill. I don't have anything from, look at my email. I don't have anything from you. As far as, yeah, I don't have any pictures from you. I got some soil test results folks sent, but I don't have any pictures. So maybe you try again. It's ron@golfcourselawn.com. The pictures can't be too big. You can try sending them again and see if they come through, but I don't have anything from you just yet. Worst case, if they don't show up this week, send them and we'll figure out a way to get them to me and I'll get them on the show for next week. So, but yeah, I wouldn't sweat it. But here's the thing though, I'll tell you this much. Happy wife, happy life. Do not make my name a curse word in your house. I don't want to hear Ron Henry said, yeah, 1, 2, don't be quoting me saying, hey, Ron said 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So 2 mowers is the minimum I should do. No, I don't want my name being used at all in that van. Don't do it. Keep me out of it. But I just say, if you're going to have 2 mowers, if she has things that she enjoys, you got to make sure it's balanced out. That's all you got to do. I got to consider that. All right, next up is Devin. He says, that's a great topic. I've talked a few times at conferences with directors for Coors Field where the Rockies play, and stripes are based off foul lines and going away from the mound and second base. Nice, Devin. Yep, cool. Very, very cool. So yeah, I'm sure they have their sequencing or their reasoning behind why they do things the way they do them. Like also like with with Augusta, I want you guys to correct me on this, and I should know this, but I think how do they mow? Do they mow from the greens? They mow all in one direction. Like you look at some of the some courses, you'll see stripes in the fairways, but in Augusta National, you don't really see that because they mow the fairways all in one direction. And I want to say it's greens to the tee box. I think they start at the greens and go to the tee box, but maybe you guys will correct me on that. I think that's right. But yeah, that's there's what cutting, like the direction you mow the grass can make a big difference when it comes to professional fields. A good example, right? So let's say you mowed, I can think of one reason why you would do that way. If you mowed from green to tee box, it'd be a way technically to slightly reduce roll, right? Because the grass is like leaning towards, like leaning against the way the ball's gonna be coming in. So as far as like reducing rollout, like so if you want to try and make a hole play a little bit longer, if you cut the grass from the green towards the tee box, then all the grass is laying towards the tee box. You're gonna have slightly less rollout. Versus if you mowed from tee to green, it's gonna be laying that way, and that's gonna increase roll. So I could see how that would they could play with those types of things to change. I mean, I don't know how huge of a difference it makes, but it probably is enough that that they think about that. All right, next up is Darren Proctor. He says, "Hey Ron, and good evening, everyone. Please hit the like button, everyone. What is the average soil temp best time to put down pre-emergent?" Great question, Darren, and I have a picture to show you guys. So a couple things. First, to answer Darren's question. So as far as the time to put down pre-emergent in the spring, you want to apply pre-emergent before the average 5-day soil temperatures are in the mid 50s and trending warmer, because that is when the weeds that we're trying to keep out of our lawn in the spring and summer months, like crabgrass, like spurge, when they begin to grow, when they begin to germinate. So you don't want to wait until those are the temperatures. You want to do it slightly before that. So what I look for is whenever soil temps, the average 5-day is in the high 40s, low 50s, go ahead and get your pre-emergent out. Like getting it out a little bit early is not going to hurt anything. Like I always tell you guys that we have in my neighborhood, like the professional services are out here and they're literally spraying pre-emergent. Like some of these lawns have had pre-emergent on them for 6 weeks. Like they started like the second day of January, they're out there spraying pre-emergent. And they've done that for years. And then what you'll find is when spring, summer rolls around, those lawns will not have weeds in them. So it's not like, you waiting to get to time it to be dead on at 55 degrees is really worth doing, in my opinion. A bit early is better than a bit late when it comes to pre-emergent. Around here, February is when I tend to get mine out. Like the first part of February is when I tend to apply my pre-emergent. But regardless of where you are in the country, if you use that rule of before the average 5-day soil temperatures are in the mid 50s, apply your pre-emergent and water it in, you'll be good to go as far as keeping your lawn, you're reducing the amount of weed pressure you have in your lawn. So great question, Darren. I really do appreciate that. And I got to show you guys. So you know how, and you'll probably appreciate this build to an extent, right? Because you know how we all like our toys. And so Darren has got a real mower, but I also told you guys about his grill that he had, right? I think he does like barbecue tours and like he represents a couple of manufacturers and stuff. And this man is very, very serious about his barbecue. He also, a couple times a year, he's generous enough to send me like rubs and like sauces to grill and cook with, and they're always awesome, always incredible. I should actually get one. I can show you guys what I am, like one of the ones that I have. Let me see here. Let me see if I can get some brought over to me so I can show you guys. But at any rate, while he's very proud of his lawn and proud of his mower, check out this grill though, man. And this, if the saying, the difference between a man and a boy is nothing more than the price of his toys, it's never been more true than this picture here. I mean, while the Revolution is looking really good, I mean, it's clean, you can tell the grass is in great shape. I mean, if you look at that grill, the one thing is you have to realize that's not a brand new grill. That grill actually gets used, and you can see the man did not just put regular wheels on it. He got like mag wheels. He's got like actual alloys on there. The smokestack is polished and the grill is clean, much like the mower. It's all clean. And I will tell you, before you guys all call Lee and start harassing him, like the Revolutions do not come with black gas tanks. So I mean, unless he paid extra for that, or I think what normally happened is he probably went out and painted it himself, because this is not that's not how they come. They come with a black, with the standard white gas tank that the Honda GX engine comes with. So overall, man, if you want to, say that everything can be taken to an extreme, if you got a barbecue grill, you can take notes. I bet it doesn't look quite as cool as that one. So thanks for sending the pictures, Darren. They're really, really cool. And again, thank you so much again for some of the rubs and barbecue that you sent. I'm trying to find your email. I'm trying to remember the name of the rubs that you sent me, because you sent me a picture of them. They are the brand. Oh, what is it? It starts with Comos or Cosmos. Cosmos, that's what it is. So yeah, him and his family, they go out, they do grilling all over the country, and he's I mean, again, if you get a chance to chat with him or just hit him up as far as like giving you some great tips on barbecue and on just like sauces and rubs and whatnot, I mean, he can get you all squared away. Really good guy. So again, thanks you so much for the care package and for sending the pictures of the mower, the lawn, and that barbecue pit. That's pretty awesome. Very, very nice. I like it. All right, next up is 2 Trilla. He says 7 videos and we're and we're only in Q1 of the year. I don't think my brain can take the content overload. All jokes aside, happy Friday, everyone, and the countdown to green up has begun. So so here's the thing, 2 Trilla, I can't win. You want me to back it down? You want me to just like stop making as much content? You want me to just slow down, like just do, I guess, 1 a month, or what are you thinking? Is it too much? But yeah, I'm just trying to give you guys more of what you want. I mean, and the thing is, I'm going to do more of like in the lawn stuff, right? Just I'll still do some of the more highly produced content that takes longer to do, but I'll also just do some of the just like the stuff that you guys saw today, like I got tons of rain and I had to go clean up the lawn and get all the zebra stripes, all the grass clippings out of it, and I just show that process for you guys. So because some of you guys really like to see that, and I'll do more of that this year, just to kind of show more of like what I do in the lawn throughout the season to keep it looking the way that it looks. So we will keep it going, man. And then next up we have, let's see here. And then, and Darren says, I replaced the gas tank. Okay, that makes sense. So the gas tank, that's not standard. You got a black one, you replace it. Yeah, because let's face it, right? You gotta coordinate, right? You gotta coordinate. I mean, you got the black and red, and the white gas tank just does not go with the mower. And I guess that's not really an option. Like Lee would probably cost Lee a small fortune to have all the gas tanks painted, but you have to admit that mower looks clean, man. Like that's how it should come. Like you got black and red on the mower, on the grass catcher, on the side is red. So having the gas tank also being black looks right. That's exactly how it should be. So I approve of that. Darren, looks pretty nice, man. Nicely done. Nicely done. All right, Adam Starks is up next. He says, hey, Ron and lawn crew. Just an update from last week. Thankfully, it was not Poa annua. It was Bermuda waking up. Thanks to Ron, it greened up earlier than ever before, so it scared me. Ron, you're awesome. So your grass normally doesn't green up that early. You're thinking, well, this can't be my grass. So it's got to be Poa. It's got to be crabgrass. I got to, you're out there with an arsenal of herbicides about to pounce on the poor Bermuda grass. But yeah, that's definitely a benefit, man. I will tell you, like, if you want your lawn, your grass to wake up, to green up sooner, to have better color, to be more disease resistant, just to overall just have a healthier stand of turf grass, like really focus on creating great soil, like soil test, feed your lawn, like amend your soil based on the soil test results, and then also commit to like adding like biostimulants as part of your program, because a big part of what makes fertilizer work well, and also just helps with the health of the grass, is like having the soil biology be really, really good. And what you tend to find, Adam, is like the biology increases, or it becomes more active, is probably a better way of saying it, as soil temperatures get warmer. So if you are doing things throughout the season, using products like carbonized PNG, using biospectrum, which also helps increase the amount of beneficial microbial activity in the soil, what that's going to do, the net result that's going to create, is whenever you apply fertilizer, your granular fertilizer especially, you're able to apply less of it and get more out of it. Because a couple things are going to happen when you're using carbonized PNG, which half of that product, or almost half of that product, is biochar. The nutrient holding capability of the soil, in other words, the resistance of the fertilizer or the nutrient to wash through the soil profile, is going to be reduced. So you're going to be able to fertilize less, and what you put in the soil is going to stay available to the grass for longer. And in essence, you can also save money because you're not fertilizing nearly as heavily. You're not creating conditions where disease can be more of a problem. So like it's like disease is kind of a weird thing, right? Because there's some diseases where if you fertilize too much, you create conditions for them to happen. Like the majority of funguses are that way. Most lawn damaging fungi are too much nitrogen creates conditions where they become a problem. But then you got some like dollar spot where if you're nitrogen deficient, it becomes more of a problem, right? So you have to kind of balance it. Long and short of it is you can get by with putting less nitrogen in the soil, which has a lot of benefits environmentally and also just for the grass, and still get an amazing result, right? Because the holy grail would be your grass being super healthy, lush, green, looking awesome, not a ton of extra growth, and that's really what you're after. So if you can feed it enough to where it meets the nutrient demands, but not so much that you create a bunch of extra growth and create, because if you feed it too much, then you start creating thatch. So just there's a lot of reasons to really incorporate biostimulants like carbonized PNG and like the carbon kit into your program, because it really makes a big difference in the quality of your grass. And another benefit is that the lawn will just wake up or green up sooner. That that coupled with you scalping, those things all coming together is going to help the grass to wake up sooner and be healthier throughout the entire season versus if you didn't do those things. All right, so next up is Darmarculus Thompson. He says, greetings, Ron and Straw Action crew. Taking time with the wife tonight. So is the live stream the wife? Is that what we're calling it? I mean, we've been upgraded, I guess. He says, so I can take time in the lawn later. Have a great show. I'll catch a replay. Okay, so you just popped in to say, hey guys, look, she's away right now. I'm just letting y'all know I'm hanging out with the wife tonight. That way I can go play in the lawn tomorrow. Don't miss me. I got it. We got it. Memo received, Darmarculus. And that's important. You got to make sure you spend time with wifey, because again, happy wife, happy life. You're not going to enjoy working in the lawn if she's mad, and you got to do that. It's important to work on your relationship, right? Ian Mashal says, is it already time in New England? Probably not. Probably not. But again, as far as when you want to get your pre-emergent out, use the average 5-day soil temperatures as your guide. So you can use, if you just Google average 5-day soil temperature in my area, what's probably going to come up as one of the options is the tool that Syngenta makes. I think it's called Greencast Online. Like that's something that they do where they have the average 5-day soil temperatures throughout the country in there. They'll still be able to tell you in your zip code like what they are. Also, if you have your soil tests done with a My Soil test kit, something they've also added is in their portal, it will also show you the average 5-day soil temperature for your zip code. So that's another way of doing it too, if you use My Soil for your testing, because it's a benefit. They add that for your zip code in the portal. So I would venture to say, Ian, that it's probably a bit early in New England, but just keep tracking that 5-day soil temp, and also just the 10-day, like 10 days as far as where the weather is going. Like if you're going to get snow on the ground a week from now, then no, I wouldn't go and put out pre-emergent. But if you look like, we get into like towards the end of February, maybe early March, and you're looking, you see there's no more snow in the forecast, the temperatures, and at least the 10-day are on a warming trend, and soil temps are about where they need to be, then yeah, get your pre-emergent out. Again, a bit early is not really gonna hurt anything. All right, next up is Colin. He says, definitely understandable and makes sense. It's most certainly hairy crabgrass. I dealt with it before. I did the lawn reno, sprayed the crap out of it before the reno, so that kept it at bay. But it is back. It is back. It is like, hey, you may have got me for a season and a half, maybe 2, but I'm going to make my presence known again. He says, but now it's back this year, so it should be interesting to see what happens as the season goes on. I know just pulling them mostly won't help, but I might try it. Depends on how bad it is, man. Next up is Brad. Brad says, hey, Ron, hope you are doing great. I can't complain. Thanks for all the great content. Sent you an email with my soil test and hoping you can give me some recommendations. Thank you. I can. I got like 4 of them that popped in here in my email during the show, Brad. So yes, tonight before I go to sleep, I will get through there's like 4 or 5 of them that I've got that I will go through them. I will read through them, and I will give you a detailed response of what I would do based on your soil test results. I'll get you all squared away. And then Tom Hoffenkamp says, ooh, baby, it's go time. Bermuda started coming through the oversea this week, just in the sunny spots, but it's a good time. Happy Friday, y'all. So now, Tom, here's the thing. We need to start planning for this. the Bermuda's starting to wake up. I mean, it's still February, so you have a little bit of time to think about this, but you have to decide. You got to have your date when you're going to break out, like, the Celsius or whatever you're going to be using to get rid of that ryegrass so the Bermuda can be allowed to come out of dormancy without any competition. So just make sure, don't hold on too long. Don't get like one more week itis, or you're saying, oh, let the ryegrass go like one more week, it'll be okay. And then you end up in June with, the Bermuda not looking that great and the ryegrass about to die off. So start thinking about your time when you want to spray that out. You still got time, but I'd say March timeframe probably would be good. But yes, definitely plan to get rid of that perennial rye, as beautiful as it is. Jimmy Miller says, Ron, how will this on again, off again, warm and cold affect sweet seed germination and my pre-emergent application? It won't. It'll be fine. Like if your pre-emergent is applied and in the soil, you're good to go. If it gets cooler, it gets warmer. The big thing, if it gets cooler or warmer, doesn't really matter because the pre-emergent's already been applied. So you are good. Remember, like assuming you applied it at the correct rates and it was watered in, both prodiamine and dithiopyr, they have a residual of 3 to 4 months thereabouts, depending on conditions. So it doesn't really matter if the soil temperatures go up or go down during that time period. If weeds try to germinate and they are labeled, and there's a weed that the pre-emergent is labeled to control, you should be just fine. So let not your heart be troubled. You'll be all right. Tom Hoffenkamp says, that's probably not for me. It looks like, he says, at Jason Harrison, I got here late. You probably got an answer, but to change the stripes, I mow the old pattern backwards first. That's one way of doing it. I can see that. And then do the new. It's never perfect the first week. That's the big thing you have to keep in mind. What Tom said there at the very end is when you are going from like a singles to doubles, or you're just changing the pattern up, the hardest thing is consistently mowing the new pattern and not making a mistake and kind of setting yourself back. As long as you can do that in, again, a few weeks, it's going to be looking pretty good. All right. And then Brad says, sorry, I just heard your request to have the soil test earlier in the day. No problem. Because as we expected, my pH is high, moss issues. How many apps and when should I apply lime? Well, if your pH, do I have your soil test? Let me look here real quick. If your pH is high, Brad, you're not going to want to apply lime. You're going to want to apply a sulfate. So some kind of a sulfur to help bring the pH, your pH levels down. So when your pH is low is when you would apply lime. If it is higher, which I'm glancing here really quickly, you're going to want to use a sulfur. I might be able to, I'm not sure if I can get this on the live stream really quickly. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, devil gods, be with me. Here we go. Let me see if I can get this to show. We can talk through it. I'll do this one. I'll do this one live and see if this will work. I think that's clear. Let's see if it'll pop in. We shall try. All right. So if you look at your pH, which is the gray bar on the right, it is at 721, which is at the high end of the acceptable range. So you're not going to want to apply lime because that's just going to make it go even higher. We're going to want to apply a sulfur. As far as everything else you got going on, you're definitely going to want to have a balanced fertilizer or a complete fertilizer of some sort. You're going to need nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Like your phosphorus is practically non-existent, which is not good. So we're going to want to bring all three of those up. You could, as low as those are, man, I normally would tell you like our 14-7-14, but if you're given where your phosphorus is, man, you might even want to consider like if you can see if you can find locally like a triple phosphate to kind of give those a little kick or a little boost to kind of start getting that coming up. You could use our 14-7-14 at like 5 or 6 pounds per thousand is what I would do. I would apply that. But given where you are, man, like your phosphorus is in the floor, and that really needs to be corrected. So you could do like a triple phosphate. I'll put this in email for you as well, Brad. So at the end of the show, I'll send you some links of what you can use to help start bringing the phosphorus up. And then the 14-7-14 is likely what you're going to be running the majority of this season. And then we're also going to want to do a micronutrient as well of some sort as well. So I'll get you that as well, because you can see all of those are low. Your soil really looks like one that just hasn't had hasn't had any fertilizer applied to it, because it just looks I mean, over it hasn't been nearly enough, because just looking at your soil test results, it needs some work. But the good thing is this, right? Is a couple of things. Applying the sulfur is going to help bring the pH down. And another thing that you will find too is that a lot of the salts that are in fertilizers also can have like an acidifying effect on the soil as well too. So they can also, believe it or not, when you begin feeding the lawn, that can also help lower the pH a little bit. I mean, granted, you're still going to want to use a sulfur to really begin moving it down, but given that you've got like, you're going to be using quite a bit of fertilizer to help amend the deficiencies. The fertilizers themselves, along with the sulfate application, is going to also help lower that pH as well. And again, you're on the bubble. It's not like you're like 7.5, 7.6. You're not like way up there. You're at 7.2. So between the sulfur app and then also regular fertilizer apps, you're gonna bring that pH down in no time. Figure a few months from now, if you test again, say summertime, you should see a noticeable improvement. All right, but again, I will put this all in an email for you after the show and get you all helped out. All right, next up is Cooper's dad. He says, Ron, Northeast Georgia Xeon lawn, new build and topsoil. All topsoil was lost. That stinks. Soil tests last 3 years show extremely low phosphorus, ferts, and recommended superphos. So kind of like you guys are like our brothers, man. Same thing. Recommended superphos 0.460 has made no difference. Any idea how to improve? Huh. So, okay. So you're telling me for the last 3 years you've been soil testing. For the last 3 years, your phosphorus has been low. And for the last 3 years, you've been using a triple phosphate, and when you test again, you see no change whatsoever. If you can, Cooper's dad, send me the latest soil test that you have. Send me the latest soil test that you have, because I'm trying to think of what would really cause that. I mean, if your soil is like really compacted, like highly compacted, that can help. That can cause problems as far as like nutrient getting into the soil. Like this, that's the thing, right? It's like a balance. Like the clay soils are nice from a standpoint of, once you do have nutrient in them, they tend to hold on to them better than like sandy soil, which just kind of, it passes through really quickly. But then if your soil is clay, which we have a lot of in Georgia, and it's also highly compacted, like that will also that's also going to make it more difficult for any fertilizers that you're putting in to move into the soil. So it'd be interesting to see your soil test results, and then also to know like what the compaction level of your soil is, like if you've aerated in the last few years or not. Like it'd be interesting to know that, because if you're using triple phosphate 3 times, like you should be able to apply that, and then a few months later, if you test again, you should see a movement in your soil test data. So yeah, send me the actual soil test, and then if you can, when you send that, let me know if you've aerated or you're open to aerating this year, and if you know what kind of soil you have, because that will make a difference, and we can see if we can get you squared away, because what you're doing should have helped. It means there's something else going on. We can get to the bottom of it though. All right, next up is Devin. He says, the super I worked for in New York after college was an assistant at Augusta, and that's where I learned that mowing pattern for tournaments. Yeah, so the cutting back and forth. So going back over one pass. I was pretty sure it was Augusta National. It was like a paper I read about how they cut the greens, because in the same paper they had they talked about how they cut the collars, and they have like a special machine. And maybe it's actually manufactured now, but for a while they had a machine that they actually designed and made specifically for that, to get the collars the way they wanted them. So it was in the same one. Let's see if I can find it. If I can, I'll link it maybe in the live stream next week, because it was an interesting read. But cool, Devin. I'm glad I'm not crazy. I was pretty sure it was Augusta National, but I'm glad that you are confirming that. All right, next up is C. Brown Masonry. He says, Hey Ron Colby, I've been seeing my lawn trying to green up. This week will be in the lower teens. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. Yep, so it'll green up, and then it will, if it stays cold like that in Memphis for a while, it'll just go dormant again. So don't sweat it. It will be okay. It will be okay. And then Oh yeah, so Bill sent his winter shed project. Let me see if I can get these on the show because they look like they are sensibly sized. Bill, I think I can make it happen. Let me, if you bear with me 1 second here, I think I can do it. Let's see. This guy is what you started with. All right, so let's get some of these on here because I think folks would like to see it. It's pretty cool, starting from absolutely nothing to an actual shed. Your foundations and everything else. Do you show a picture of what's in the shed? I don't see all the mowers. I mean, okay, well, I'll show everybody else, but I'm going through these pictures and I think we're gonna have a party foul here. Okay, so picture one is what he started with. It looks like if IKEA sold sheds, that's what you would that's what you would start out with. And then we went to this, which looks like he built the foundation or the base, which is good. Look, it's a raised floor. And then he's framing it up, getting that going, looking solid. And then we move to you get the doors on it. Yeah, very cool, man. It's a nice project. And then finally the finished project, all painted and everything. This is pretty nice. And Bill, the only thing, man, is we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to throw a flag on the play. I don't see, I mean, you're painting here, but I don't see any pictures of the mowers or anything like that. I guess it could be, oh, I get it. So this is to get the mowers out of the garage. I get it. I understand now. So you have a bunch of mowers, you built the shed so that the wife will be like, hey, I want my garage back so you can have a place to put them. So that's why you haven't sent any pictures of said mowers. I misunderstand better now. All right. Cool. Next up, we have Devin. He says Augusta is mowed tee to green. Okay, so I'm wrong then. So backwards. So starting at the tee boxes to the green, and he says that's why they mow that way to benefit the players. Grass is laid down to increase roll. Sounds like we're going to have some awesome talking points next time on the stream with you. Yeah, man. So you tell me this, Devin. So is there any scenario where and you can maybe make notes of this, but is there any scenario where if you're trying to make the course harder, where you would actually mow, where you would mow green to tee? I guess you just make the hole longer, right? I'm interested to know if there any reason to do that, or if any courses ever do that. But yeah, cool. Next up is DK. He says, hello, what's going on, DK? And then next up is Darren. He says, I replaced the gas tank. All right, we're winding down here. Thanks so much. All right. And as far as some of the, I can show you guys here. We get towards the end of the live stream, so I can show you guys a little show and tell. Some of the sauces that that Darren sent to me, sent over for me to take a look at. And again, I'm not sponsored by any of these guys, but he's just a nice guy and he sent me some stuff. So I'll show you guys some of the stuff that he some of the rubs he sent over. So again, not but yeah, you got like I'm not sure what this one is here. We got it's like a spicy barbecue sauce. I'll go right here. I'll take the koozie out. A sauce for a koozie. So got Tuffy Stone. We got Bear Burton's. I guess, and remind you, this is men that like he sent me a picture. He sent me a barbecue magazine. I didn't realize there was even a magazine about barbecue. So I mean, this I guess is the stuff that folks that actually compete in tournaments use. We got a rib glaze. Again, you can take some notes here from Cosmos. And then what is this here? A clean eaten, sugar-free 5 calories. This sounds like the no fun seasoning, man. Sugar-free and 5 calories. I mean, I guess this one we may not use that one because I mean, you can eat. It's like eating low-fat ice cream, right? You can eat ice cream. And then the Hot Dirty Bird meat dry rub. I like it. We're trying these out, and then finally a chimichurri rub. Cool, dry mix. So yeah, so you guys see, I'm all good for barbecuing, for grilling, for seasoning all kinds of meats. So thank you so again, Darren. Thank you so much for all for the care package, and they will be used in good health. I can assure you that. So thanks so much. I really do appreciate it. You didn't have to, and again, it means a lot. All right, next up is Julius. Elias says, are you going to be selling the polo shirts you are wearing? You know what? I thought about it. I thought about doing that. Thing is, I had to make a bunch of these. So I have like a local place that makes these for me. I'd have to do like a lot more volume. I don't know. I mean, is it something that you guys would want? We can do a, while we look for the next question, I can do a quick survey here and we can see, what do they do with the polls? Do they remove them? I don't know. I don't see it on the live stream anymore. I don't see where the polls are. But yeah, you guys can let me know in the chat if you guys would want to at least have the option for me to start carrying polos on the store. Type the number 5 in the chat. And if not, then you don't have to type anything. So if you want, for anyone that would be interested in polos, like number 5, and then I will that'll let me know if it's something. Actually, I'll do a poll here. It's even easier. Let's see. Start offering polo shirts. Yes or no. And boom, there you go. So you guys can chime in as to whether or not you think polos would be good or not. You're like, nah, I don't want polo golf course lawn. These are clean though, man. I gotta say, you got the thing that, you know, buy, apply, dominate. It's pretty. These are nice. You're pretty clean. So I have to see what it costs to make a bunch of them. That'd be the thing. All right. Next up is DK. He says, "Hey Ron, can you suggest a good and dependable reel mower versus like a non-dependable and a bad one?" I currently have a California trimmer. I'm not too happy with it. Okay. So a good and dependable reel mower. Most of them are good and dependable. I'll tell you, depending on, when it comes to reel mowers, there's 2 different categories, right? So you have the prosumer mowers like True Cuts, like trimmers, like McLean's. Of those types of mowers, I would put the Revolution a cut above any of the mowers I just mentioned. So if you're going to get a brand new mower and you're going to spend, you know, $3,000 or less, $3,500 or less, it's really tough to beat like the Revolution because it's got a lot of stuff that makes green mowers great without the additional costs and some of the things that make green mowers not so great. So the Revolution is what I would look at if you're looking for a quality reel mower that just does everything well. Like I have mine. I've been running it, and it hasn't missed a beat at all. The next category of mowers really is when you start getting into greens mowers. So and the 2 options for that are really a Toro, a Greensmaster, or one of the mowers from John Deere. So either one of those 2. If all you care about is the absolute best quality cut, like bar none, all you want is the cut, like the quality of cut is the most important thing, and you're willing to deal with, you know, slightly higher maintenance costs. If something breaks, it's going to cost you more money. The way of making adjustments as far as changing the height of cut is more involved. Like with a Revolution, just a little knob you turn, and it's got a little dial that tells you what height of cut you're at. With the Greensmaster or John Deere, you have to if you're doing it right, you really want to invest in an AccuGauge, and it's a little bit of theater, right? You have to loosen some bolts, like some lock nuts, and then, you know, just the height of cut on both sides, and then lock that in. And the nice thing is, once it's locked in, it's not gonna move. Like you can, when you set the height of cut on those mowers, like, doesn't really matter what you do, the mower just is not going to move. Like it's gonna stay consistent at that height of cut until you move it. But changing the height of cut is more involved than, say, like some of the other mowers that I mentioned. So I would say Revolution 26 or 20 would be a great option, or a greens mower. Either one of those would be like, that's what I would look at. Like if I were in the market today for buying a mower, I would not buy a True Cut. I wouldn't buy like the original California trimmer. They have the new one, like the Catalyst, and I guess some people, I've not seen one myself, and then I guess I've not seen one myself, and I'm not sure. There's a couple people in the academy that have them, but I haven't heard any feedback really super positive or super negative either way. Yeah, and then so just I say do your research, but of those mowers, the Revolution is the one that I'm again, I just really like the mower. I got to play with Rolex, or at least I guess an older version of the Rolex, when Lee was trying to decide which mower he wanted to use as a basis for the Revolution, and I didn't really care for that mower that much, for reasons I've already mentioned a bunch of times. But the thing I'd say, DK, more so than any particular brand, if the mower is sharp and well adjusted, so like it's set up towards cutting paper all the way across, the reel and bed knife are set up properly, pretty much any reel mower is going to do a really good job on your lawn. You know, it's just that extra few percentages of cut quality that you get with a green, well, maybe it's more than a few percentage, but like the cut quality with a greens mower is noticeably better than the cut quality you will get with other mowers. But there's a bit more hassle factor involved with them versus your regular mower. So it just really depends. Like, I mean, I've got my Outlet, I've got my Greensmaster, and I have the Revolution. And for striping, by far the Outlet is the best, mainly because it weighs a ton. It's like 300 plus pounds. Thing's super heavy, and it lays stripes like nobody's business. As far as cut quality, the best cutting mower I have is still the Greensmaster 1600. It just cuts the best. It's a Greensmaster with 11 blade reel. It is a thing. Literally, when you go look at the grass clippings, you think you could like season. You could use them as like dressing on like salad or steak or whatever. It's almost like it's finely diced. Like the grass, like you want to see grass that's like finely diced. Look at what an 11 blade reel will do to turf grass. It's a thing of beauty. And then the Outlet's really nice as far as cut. The Revolution also great as far as quality of cut, but the Greensmaster is still above both of them as far as quality. So it just depends. Depends on your budget. Depends on what you can get work done in your area. Like that's another thing too. Like the Greensmaster or the Outlet, getting them sharpened could be a challenge depending on where you are in the country. Reel Rollers has a service I think they just launched this month where you can mail your reel in and they'll sharpen it for you, which is kind of a big deal. So that's another good reason to look at that. But I guess all things considered, in other words, if you could in your town, if you get any of them sharpened, and all you care about is best cut, then a Greensmaster or a John Deere. If you want a good in between that is easier to live with, then the Revolution, and then everything else would be below those, is what I would say. And then if you're on an interchangeable cartridge system mower, maybe the Catalyst, maybe because I think that's one thing that they have going for it, right? As far as like a relatively newer gas-powered mower that doesn't cost 5 figures like what Outlet's charging for mowers these days. And I want to say the Catalyst is probably going to be your best bet from a standpoint of like being able to verticut and turf rake and do all those other, like the other cultivation practices that you can't really do with a Revolution or a Greensmaster. Like that would be a reason for that mower. So it sounds like you need two. You need a mower to cut grass with, and you need a mower to do everything else with, like turf rake and verticut. That's what it said. There you go. The American answer. Why not both? To not one mower, two mowers. All right. True Gator's up next. He says, happy Friday, Ron. Is it okay to put soil test cores after rain? I keep getting this question. I mean, I have not gone out like right after rainfall and pulled cores. In other words, okay, I'll put it this way. This week, it rained for 3 days. It rained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It didn't rain yesterday, or it stopped raining yesterday. So if I wanted to go pull cores today, would I do so? Yes. Would I go pull cores like immediately after rainfall? I don't know that it would make a difference, but I've never really done that. But a day or two afterwards, you're good to go. You'd be fine. You'd be fine. And then Will Addison says, screw the mower. That smoker is bad. It is, isn't it? It is, man. I'm telling you, man. Like Darren said that to me, he sent it to me last year. But look at that smoker, man. Look. I mean, here's the thing: the thing you have to look at too is not that it is completely overbuilt and overkill. It's how clean it is. You know what I mean? Like you could eat off of that thing. I mean, literally, look at the wheels are all clean and polished. The stack is polished. I mean, you could tell this man, takes like great care, takes much pride in his equipment. Not only does it have to be functional, it's got to look good too, and it definitely does that. It does both. It looks good. And I'm sure it's highly, highly functional. So pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. And then Dallas Dandy says, can you recommend I use biochar to amend the soil? Yeah. So as far as a biostimulant to help the nutrient holding capacity of the soil, to help the water holding capacity of the soil, to help improve microbial activity, like the beneficial bacteria in the soil that help your fertilizer work better, then yes, a biochar product makes a lot of sense. So what I would say is, if you go to the Golf Course Lawn Store, you go to shop and then lawn fertilizer, this is what I would use. Carbonized PNG, this is it. This is a replacement for Essential G. It is literally it is like 47% biochar, 47% compost, and then there's a microbial package that's added to this as well. So it's all about improving nutrient holding capacity of the soil and improving microbial activity. So this is what you want. Now, as far as like a vitamin pack for your soil, this is a great option. When you say soil amendments, like this is an amendment, but as far as like improving or fixing nutrient deficiencies, you're going to want to use an actual fertilizer for that. So if your soil test says that like your phosphorus is deficient or your potassium is deficient, you're going to want to apply a fertilizer that has phosphorus and potassium in it. Like using this is not going to fix those. You want to use a fertilizer that has the analysis, that fits what your soil needs based on what your soil test data says, if that makes sense. But this is something you can, every time you apply fertilizer, you can apply this. Like every time I fertilize my lawn at the beginning of the month, this guy also is applied to. Carbonized PNG is also applied as part of that. So hopefully that helps. I'll send you a link, Dallas Dandy, if you want to read all about it, and you can decide if you want to get you a bag or 2 or 20. You'll be good to go. But it's a great product. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. All right. He says, perfect. You just answered my question. Cool. That was fast. All right. Next up is C. Brown Masonry. He says, when can I put down Essential G? I have like 4 bags of it before the new stuff came out. Now, you can do it now if you want to. You can do it now if you want to, Colby. Now it'll be absolutely fine. I put down, all that rain we had coming, I put down 5 bags. 5 bags earlier this week. So yeah, you absolutely do. You can do it right now. As the rule is this: as long as the ground isn't frozen where you are, you can apply carbonized PNG. There's no or Essential G. You can either one of those. You can put them down as long as the ground isn't frozen and where you are. Good to go. Next up is Emmanuel Jacobs. He says, hi, Ron, I have a couple ornamentals that are overgrown. Will trimming them down with cold temperatures outside hurt them? That's a good question. I don't know ornamentals, man. I don't, not sure. I don't know. I can tell you that my shrubs got pruned a month ago, and it was pretty cold out when they got pruned, and that's happened before in the winter, and they were absolutely fine. But I don't know if the particular plants or trees or ornamentals that you have are sensitive to being pruned when it's cold out. I don't know the answer to that one, unfortunately. I can help you pretty decent with grass, but as far as ornamentals, I do not know about pruning them in the winter. I can tell you that mine have been done and they've been absolutely fine, but I don't know if that's going to be, that's going to also play for yours. So yeah, sorry, I'm not more help on that one. Dallas Daddy says, by the way, how did your black belt test go? It's not over yet. So when it comes to testing for 4th degree for Kodanja, for 4th Dan, it's a 2-year process. So the first year was last year in March or whatever it was, and got through that. And then between March and this year, I had to write a 20,000 word essay, 20,000 word paper, like a research paper, like your thesis on some topic that was also related to martial arts. So it could be on different things. Like some people do them on breathing and martial arts or whatever. So yeah, and mine was on firearms and martial arts. You argue that firearms are the ultimate martial arts. So that was mine was on based on the fact that I used to do competitive shooting. So it was a fun topic for me, something I know already a whole lot about. And then this year, the second half will happen. So this year we'll test again. And then if I get through that, then maybe this fall, I will get promoted to 4th degree. That's how that works. So it's like a 2-year process for 4th Dan. All the other tests, like 1st degree black belt, 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, those are all just one test. Like going from a white belt to a 1st degree black belt in our style, depending on the person in your training schedule, it takes about 4 years. And then 1st degree to 2nd degree is at minimum 2 years of waiting. 2nd degree to 3rd is a minimum of 3 years from 2nd to 3rd, and then 4th, so 3rd to 4th is a minimum of 5 years, but you also have to be invited. So it's not like a time at rank thing. So you can be a 3rd degree, but if you're not like teaching and you're not attending events, you're not doing things to help the association, like going to worlds and competing and helping judging, in other words, if you're not giving back to it, that's part of also being eligible to being invited to have the opportunity to test for 4th degree. So it's not so whereas the other ones, like getting 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, are largely time at rank based. 4th Dan is time at rank, along with a bunch of other factors that you have to satisfy to be able to even given the opportunity to be invited to test for it. So it's a much smaller club. I'm very honored and privileged to even have the opportunity to do it. And we'll see if I get through it this year. We'll see. All right, next up is Darren. He says, no problem, enjoy. Yeah, man, thanks so much, man. I really do appreciate you. And the next up is Cooper's Dad. He says, soil test, sand, aerate each spring. Soil compacted at 6 to 8 inches below core depth from grading, rolling red clay before laying sod. Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, Cooper's Dad, is if you're aerating, and even if you have like a 6 to 8 inch layer of like your topsoil, your richer soil before you got to like the next to like, I guess it would be like we consider like B horizon, right? B, like the next horizon where the soil is less like your accumulation layer, where you have less nutrient. I would imagine, because you're pulling cores from that 6 to 8 inch layer area, that you should see that change, man. Like if you're applying a triple phosphate at the correct rates and you're watering it in, it's crazy that you would soil test and not see any movement at all in that. That just doesn't make it. I mean, the only thing that I also ask is where your soil pH is, because those as far as availability, those nutrients do become. I'm not sure also what kind of testing, which tests you're doing, but as far as those becoming less available, once you get outside of between 6 and 7, they do become less available. And I'm not sure if that might be part of the problem, but based on what you're describing, man, it doesn't make sense that your soil test results are not showing a movement in phosphorus. So weird. That's kind of weird. I'll look at your results after the live stream, and then I'll give you my feedback. But I mean, just based on what you're saying, you're aerating. You got 6 to 8 inches of quality topsoil. That should, I mean, you should be good. You know what I mean? Shouldn't be compacted. It should be good. It should be good for accepting nutrients. I don't understand why it's not. Your results aren't showing that. But I'll take a look, man. Bill Stewart says, still working on the shelving inside and painting the exterior. I'll send out the finals next week. Nice. And you got to include a picture of the mowers, man. So you have to, while it's nice to show a picture of the house, you have to show a picture of the kids. You got to show the kids too. Like, you got to show the babies. You got to show the mowers. And any other lawn equipment you have. All right. Next up, we have at Cooper's Dad, Tom Havenkamp is a good one here. He says gypsum could be of help to you. It conditions the soil structurally, plus allows it to hold phosphorus better. Site One has it for less than $10 for a 50-pound bag. App is 50 pounds per 1,000. Could be. Might be worth taking a look at. It's a good tip, Tom. Let's say here. He says, well, I read too much. When I read this info yesterday, I thought to myself, who needs to hang on to phosphorus? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like in my soil, like especially with all the granular biostimulants that I've been putting into the soil, like I've got plenty of phosphorus. Like I need to add any like granular fertilizer with phosphorus in my soil, like going forward. Like I got plenty of it. So the fact, and I've never used like a triple phosphate on my lawn. Normally it's been either like years ago, like the triple 12, and I've used the 14-7-14 in years past. But now my phosphorus levels are such that I mean, it's strictly going to be nitrogen and potassium as far as granular fertilizer. So it's weird that you're using like a triple phosphate and you're still not able to get the levels up. That's interesting. All right, next up is Bill Stewart. He says, Ron, I mixed Celsius and Certainty combination with surfactant and blue dye in a small sprayer bottle. Okay. I still have a few ounces left over. Will it last on the shelf for very long? So here's the thing, Bill. I really would only mix what you intend to use. Like for a couple of reasons. One, same thing your question you're asking as far as shelf life. I don't know how long they're going to be effective as herbicides when they're already mixed. From a safety standpoint, if a kid or a pet or something gets into the shed or whatever, or someone picks up the bottle, if it's not labeled properly and uses it, that could be a problem. So if you could find somewhere where you've got the weeds in your lawn where you can use it up, that would be my recommendation. I'm not a fan of mixing herbicides and just leaving them sitting around for long periods of time. Even if you could do it, it's not great for your equipment. If you left herbicides inside your sprayer, they can form deposits. just overall, just not good for, it's not as good for your equipment. In addition to the potential safety concerns, I really wouldn't recommend it. I don't know how long Celsius uncertainty will last in a spray bottle. I'd imagine 4 to 6 weeks is probably going to be okay. Like, for example, years ago, when I asked the manufacturer about Negate, which is a herbicide that you can use for, a common use for it is controlling POA annua, right? Because the way that most people use Negate is not the way you're supposed to use it. The way you're supposed to mix it is you're supposed to mix the entire contents at once, because it's designed to treat an acre. And the way that they is explained to me, the way you can make it, you can mix it to where you can use it you can dole it out in smaller amounts, is you can get like a tip and pour. You add the entire contents of the tip and pour with, like, I want to say it was like a gallon of water. And then that solution, that intermediate mix, you can then dole that out at like an ounce with a gallon of water over 1,000, something like that. Or maybe it's more than that. No, it's more. It's more than, maybe it's 2 ounces, because the math doesn't work out if that's the case. But the long and short of it is, there's an intermediate mix where you will take the entire bottle's contents, have it combined with water, and that intermediate mix, when I talk to the manufacturer, is really only supposed to be kept around for 6 weeks. Like, 6 weeks is the upper limit of how long you're supposed to keep that blend, and then outside after that, you really need to take it to like a hazardous waste place and dispose of it. So I'd imagine Celsius uncertainty are probably somewhat similar, and that you could, if you left it around for a few weeks, it's probably going to be okay. But I would just not get in the habit of doing that if you can. Like, mix what you intend to use it, and then clean your equipment and then put it up. That way your stuff's going to last longer. You can have less accidents. It's just overall better to take that approach. All right. I got a couple of super chats. Let me get down here and grab these really quick before I get in trouble from folks. We got Jesse Rangel. Thanks so much, Jesse.
Super chat.
He says, good evening, Ron. I purchased my very first real mower, California trimmer Catalyst, and did a light scalp on my sloped Bermuda lawn. It kept shutting off. Any idea why? Yep. I can tell you why. If it's got a Honda GX engine on it, which I think those do, there's a sensor on the front. It's a sensor to help prevent oil starvation, is what it's for. And on all my mowers, Revolution included, so the Revolution, the True Cut, on all those mowers, I disable them. So the thing you just make sure you do, if you do that, is that you keep enough oil in the mower. The trick is, just whenever you're filling the mower, take the drain plug out and just fill the mower up enough to where when the oil is at, like, just showing on the threads, you're good to go. And then you have to worry about oil starvation, and the mower won't cut off anymore. I have a video that shows you how to do this. So yeah, what the mower is doing is it's cutting off because the sensor is sensing the mower is at a tilt, and it's saying, hey, you are going to run me out of oil and burn the engine up or damage the engine. So it's shutting off, but there's a way to, here we go. Got it. It's actually from last year, Revolution 26, tilt sensor bypass. Shot this last year because I was like, hey, you know what? At some point, someone's going to have this question, and I'm going to have a video to send to him. So Jesse, here you go. At Jesse Rangel, that is the video you need to watch. How to disable sensor. And again, as long as you have enough oil in the mower, I mean, like I said, if you fill it up to where you're right at the threads of the fill threads, you're gonna be just fine. Like my True Cuts, I've run it that way for years until I gave it to Real Rollers, and I've never had a problem. This is not an uncommon thing you should be doing, but if you don't do this, it's gonna keep cutting off on a slope, and that's just not gonna work. So, yep, that's what you gotta do. Check out that video. It will get you all. It will get you all squared away. It's not hard to do. Thank you for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. DK is up next. He gave a super chat.
Super chat received.
With no question, but I still appreciate it. So thanks so much for that, DK. Appreciate all the love and support. So next up, so you guys are all about getting some, okay, so some of you guys are, so 70% are saying yes to the polos. Okay, well, I'll see what's going to cost me to have them made in bulk. And I'll probably just do a small run initially because I don't want to get stuck with a bunch of shirts. And then we'll see. And they're probably only going to be in black. It'll be exactly what you see here. So probably do medium, large, and extra large. I think so. I think that'll work. Okay, next up we have Jimmy Miller, he says, definitely look into sharpening. Very hard and expensive to get my Toro Greens Master sharpened in San Antonio. Waiting for the real rollers to make the real mower with cartridges. Yeah, so they don't have one with cartridges, but what they do is you can, I mean, you can buy like a backup cartridge, and then you can send yours in. So they have a service now, Jimmy, where you can send it in and they'll sharpen it and send it back to you. So it's not like quite an interchangeable system, but it's essentially the same, because like if it were like a truly interchangeable cartridge system, like say like the Allet has, you would still need a second cutting head, a second cutting unit to be able to mow while that one's out. And with them, like I think Lee released a video last week or 2 weeks ago that shows what it takes to take it apart and do it. It is not really complicated. But yeah, if you get a second cutting unit, you can then send yours in, and then you can just always have a fresh one to go. So yeah, that is one way around it. Joseph Kim says, another question: if the grass is wet, should I wait till it's dry to add liquid pre-emergent? Doesn't really matter in that case, Joseph. So the way I was answering this question is, if it is safe for you to walk on the lawn, meaning you can walk out there safely and not fall or trip or anything like that, and you want, like, in other words, if you went out on the lawn in the morning when there's dew on the lawn, you want to go put out your pre-emergent, that's absolutely fine, especially if it's a liquid. So you can apply it and then you're going to water it in afterwards. There's not going to be any issue. If you are doing granular pre-emergent, with most granular products, especially ones that have any kind of fertilizer in them, it's discouraged to apply them to wet grass, because if you don't irrigate right afterwards, like wash it off, you can have burning. You can burn the grass. Most, like the stuff that we carry, the granular fertilizers, granular pre-emergents that we carry have 7% potassium, which is pretty unlikely to burn your grass if you did that. But in general, for granular fertilizer products or granular products that have any fertilizer in them, you want to avoid applying it to wet grass. And if you are going to do that, you're going to want to literally irrigate right afterwards. With a liquid pre-emergent, it doesn't really matter, but same thing. You're going to want to water it in after you're done, because with a liquid, it's going to wash right off the leaf. It's going to get right into the soil where it's supposed to work. So liquid, less of a big deal. Granular products, if granular fertilizers especially, you want to avoid doing that, applying those to a wet lawn. So a good question, Joseph. Hopefully that helps, sir. Joseph Kim, get y'all squared away here. And then next up we have Jimmy Miller. He says, Ron, my Bermuda has never had a verticutter, scarified, or been dethatched. Given that this is my first year using a real mower, how important is it having either of those done on my lawn? It depends on the quality of grass you're after. So for years, kind of like you, Jimmy, I only real mowed my lawn. And it can look really good. If you just put a real mower on your lawn, keep it well adjusted, keep it sharp, it can look really good. And the problem you're going to run into, or the challenge you're going to run into, is when you get to about, right around here in Georgia, right? When you get to about May, late May, mid-May to like late May, and when temperatures are hotter and Bermuda is really beginning to light off and start growing aggressively, you're going to want to do something to thin it out some, because if you don't, what's going to happen is the mower will begin like floating and riding on the top of the grass at the top of how thick it is, and you're going to start having scalping problems. It's going to start scalping in areas that you didn't have those cutting issues before. The way to correct that, or to stay ahead of that, is with verticutting. So vertical mowing or verticutting is a way to gently thin out the canopy, thin out the grass. That way the mower always rides on the surface, and the cut's going to be consistent throughout, pretty much throughout the season. It's going to look good throughout the season. If you want to see the difference it can make, if you look at how my lawn looks now, because you can go back and look at all my old YouTube content, look at how my lawn looks now versus how it looks before I got the Allet. So it still looked great. I mean, the color was great. Stripe action was really nice, but the stripe action now is on another level. The quality of the turf now is on another level compared to when I was only mowing it. Other benefits of verticutting are, as far as like reducing thatch. That's a good benefit of it. And by reducing thatch, you help your fertilizer to work better because it's not getting caught up in the thatch. You reduce disease conditions where disease can be a problem because you don't have as much thatch. Your water works better because it's not getting hung up in the thatch. It's just, there's a lot of good reasons. I mean, the color of the lawn is gonna look better because you don't have as much dead material just sitting there that's competing with the green for color. So Is it strictly necessary? No. Do you have to do it the first year? No. But um are there benefits to doing it? Absolutely. I mean, is there a noticeable difference in the quality of a lawn that is only mowed versus a lawn that is using these other cultural practices like mowing, verticutting, and core aeration? Visually there is a almost like a night and day difference, but it's pretty substantial. Like, you can definitely tell the difference between a lawn that has that stuff done to it versus a lawn that is just only mowed. So it depends. It depends on you. It depends on budget, how much time you have, and how picky you are. Like how, how much do you really want it? Like, I guess that extra 5-10%. I mean, I might even argue it's more than that, because again, if you can look for yourself, look at pictures of my lawn or videos of my lawn from, like, in, I don't know, 2019, 2000, and then look at videos from like 2022. I think it's when I got the Allen, or 2023, whatever it was, 2022, 2023, and then going forward, and look at the quality of the lawn from then to now. The nutrient program has changed some, growth regulators have changed some, but the biggest thing that changed, those are cultural practices, is the verticutting and the turf raking. Those are the two things that were added that, I mean, has made a noticeable difference in the color, the cut quality, the reduction in disease problems. Like I haven't had, ever since I started doing this regularly, in the years that I started introduced like regular verticutting and turf raking, I don't have problems with brown patch in my lawn anymore. Like, that used to be a problem every year in the springtime. Not anymore since I started doing that, mainly because there's not like the thatch is being managed. So it's one of those things where when you are looking for, like there's always levels of things to everything, right? If you got your lawn, you're mowing it and it started looking really good, and you're saying, what can I do to make this better? Adding verticutting a few times per season, adding core aeration a few times per season is going to improve it. But is it like the first thing that I would do? Probably not. I mean, get your mower, get it set up properly, mow the lawn, get it filled in, doing well. And then maybe next season you think about, doing verticutting, because it's something, believe it or not, it's something you're gonna want. Personally, I've had a service verticut my lawn, and I did not like that. I did not like the results I got with that. Like, they were way too aggressive as far as the way the machine was set up. And I think you can find the videos on my channel. Like, if you go back way back into like 2019, maybe 2018, 2019 is when I did it. And I did not like the results from that. When you the way for verticutting to work well, in my opinion, verticutting and turf raking, because a lot of people say you can't scarify or you can't turf rake Bermuda grass, which is not necessarily true. You just have to do it right. It's like most things in life, it's not the activity, or it's not the medication, it's the dose, right? It's how you go about doing it. So the way that I find that Bermuda works really well with verticutting is if you don't set up the verticutter the way you would set it up as if you were like slit seeding. Like, don't set it up to where you set the machine up to where it's cutting channels into the soil. Set it up to where it's like 2 to 4 millimeters above the surface. That's going to get you like all the benefits as far as like thinning out the canopy. You're not going to unnecessarily stress the lawn, and you get all the benefits with really none of the downsides. So if you set up your verticutter and your turf rake that way, that's, I think, is personally from my testing, is the way to do it and get really good results, to where you verticut the lawn, and unless you actually walk up to it and look at it, you're not going to really be able to tell that the turf is really being stressed. So what in my lawn, what tends to happen is I will verticut it, and then a day or two after, the color will fade a little bit, but like by day 4 or 5, it's right back and looking great, right? Whereas if you're too aggressive with it, you could verticut the lawn and then it'll look really like crappy for like a week or two. So it's really in how you set it up. Kind of like my approach to top dressing. Like, go light, like a little bit, and often is better than being crazy aggressive to try and just get a bunch of material out. And if you guys, you know what, I'm going to send you the video that shows you exactly me doing all this, because if you see how I did it on Memorial Day weekend 2 years ago, because I actually live streamed to show the whole process, you can literally watch how the lawn changes after each pass. So First, I just showed the lawn as it was, and then I verticut it and showed how it changed from that, and then moved the camera on and showed that, and then I turf raked it and showed how it looked after that, and then I cut it and showed how it looked after that. So you can literally see in like the space of like a few hours how the lawn changes after each practice, after each cultivation is done to it. And I go through and show exactly how I set the machine up to do it. So if as long as if you're going to pay a service to do it and they're going to follow that, then you'd be good to go. But I mean, you'd be better off honestly getting the equipment and doing it yourself, because most of them, they just want to get in and get out, and they don't have the same kind of love that you're going to have, right? That's probably the best way of saying it. Okay, so this is the live stream from a couple years ago where I actually showed that. So verticutting. Actually, I'm going to put it here to where everybody can get it. How about that? Verticutting, turf, raking, and mowing live stream. Boom. That has all of it. So you'll be able to see everything that I did. All right. Okay. Next up, we have a super chat. This one is from Gino MKL. Thank you so much, Gino. Appreciate it.
Super chat
He
received.
says, what effect does cold weather have on the Prodiamine 65 WDG I put out yesterday here in West Tennessee? You should be fine. It shouldn't really have a negative effect on it, Gino. You'll be okay. Just water it in, and there's really shouldn't have any negative effect. It should be just fine. I wouldn't sweat it. Do not, in other words, if you're asking this question to ask, do I need to go out and make another application of Prodiamine? Because that's another question. That's the question I've been getting this week as well a lot too. Is so I applied Pre-Emergent on Monday. We had a ton of rain Tuesday and Wednesday. Do I need to go out and reapply Pre-Emergent? The answer is no. I mean, you apply Pre-Emergent. Rainfall is a good thing. It helps water it in and gets it into the soil profile where it can actually work. You do not need to go out and reapply it if you get some rainfall afterwards. Even if it's heavy rainfall, you still don't need to go out and reapply your Pre-Emergent. So you should be good to go, Gino. No need to do anything other than wait for warmer temperatures and mow your lawn once it starts greening up. That's what I would tell you. All right. Okay, next up we have you are very welcome, John. This says no Pre-Emergent down this spring for me. I sprigged Tahoma 31 last July, so I'll be treating for weeds with certainty and a weed pilling tool. I like it. That works too. You're very welcome, DK. And then next up, Isolani says, Ron, my guy, I keep preaching. When is it time to overseed with perennial rye, and the best brand also? When and how do you kill it off? Okay, a couple of things. If you're going to overseed your lawn with perennial ryegrass because you want it to be green during the wintertime, you're going to want to do that in late August, September timeframe. September, probably more September would be the ideal time. So yeah, that is when you'd want to do the overseed. And then as far as when to kill it off, around here in like late March, early April. Pretty much when the ryegrass is looking its absolute best, that's when you're going to want to get rid of it, because Bermuda tends to come out of dormancy. I mean, every lawn is different, but typically around during the month of March. And you don't want so because it starts coming out of dormancy, you're going to start feeding it, and you don't want the ryegrass competing with the Bermuda as it's trying to come out of dormancy. So late March, early April, pretty much a good calendar thing to remember is whenever the Masters is about to start, which is normally like the first part of April, get rid of your ryegrass before then, because Augusta National, which is overseeded with perennial ryegrass, which looks incredible in April, that's when you're going to want to get rid of yours. If your goal is to have the Bermuda come out of dormancy and not have the ryegrass really hold it back. As far as brands, I can't really recommend one. I've never done it on my lawn, but Barenbrug makes a really good grass seed. I've recommended that to other folks that wanted to overseed their lawns, and I've not had anyone come back to me and say, yeah, they didn't get a good result with it. So look into Barenbrug. There's tons of different blends and options for perennial ryegrass seed, but again, Barenbrug is a pretty good one to look into. So hope that helps, sir. And then Tom Hobbekamp says XXL for the big boys. See, that's my challenge, Tom, is that I can't, I mean, so I can do a few, I guess I'll have to ask the my printer like how many of each they would recommend. Like whenever other people order these kinds of shirts, like what ratios or SKUs do they use? So I will see what I can figure out. I'll work on it. I can work on it. That's easy enough to do. All right, next up is Ari G. He says, what about if it's a weed and feed? I'm not sure what your question is, Ari. I mean, weed and feed, all weed and feed is a is a pre-emergent and in most cases, it's a pre-emergent and a fertilizer. There are some weed and feeds that have pre-emergent fertilizer and post-emergent in them. But for example, this, like we carry products that would be technically classified as a weed and feed. So if you go to shop and then weed killer and pre-emergent, then these two guys, like the dimension and the prodiamine, these two guys would be technically considered weed and feeds because they have herbicides, they have weed killer in them, and they also have fertilizer. They have potassium. So this would be considered like a weed and feed product. I'm not sure what your question is, but really the same rules as far as your timing around when you would apply pre-emergent would apply for these weed and feed type products. If you're using something different, you'd have to read the label and see what they recommend as far as timing. But for pre-emergent, pretty much you want it applied and watered in before your average soil temps are in the mid 50s. All right, next up we have Mark. Mark is in the house. He says, I put out pre and post-emergent February 4th. I use Resolute 65WG, Atrazine, and Triplet SF. I have some rescue grass in my yard, and it does not seem to have any effect. Any suggestions? That's a good question, Mark. I'm not sure if those, I mean, the Resolute is a pre-emergent, so that's not going to take care of the active rescue grass. I'd have to look at the labels for Atrazine and Triplet to know if either of those are labeled for rescue grass. I don't know off the top of my head because those are two herbicides that I don't use either one of those. So I can't tell you for sure if they are labeled for that. So what I'll tell you is this, is that you use that combination, because I guess you had them, check the label, see if there's any guidance, if there's any particular mention about rescue grass as far as application rates. You need to, maybe there's some special rates you need to use for those. If they are labeled to control that, if you didn't use a spreader sticker, like I would recommend that. If you have to go back after it again, that's something I would do. Another thing to consider as well is you applied it, today's the 14th, and you applied it on February 4th, right? So it's only been 10 days. So, you know, it's been 10 days and we've had some cooler temperatures. So what I would say is if you can give it more time, like, you know, give it, you know, wait till you get to like the, yeah, I mean, we're only a few days out from 14 days. Wait till like at least 2 weeks and see at 2 weeks what it looks like at that point, and you may see if you have to reapply. But a couple tips are: one, check the labels for both those products and make sure they're labeled to control rescue grass. I imagine they are, or otherwise you wouldn't have used them. And then second, if you didn't use any kind of an adjuvant like a spreader sticker, like one of these, like high yield, I would do that. And then the other thing to consider is just time, patience, because it is cooler this time of year. Even if those herbicides are labeled to control rescue grass, and this time of year is the right time to do it, assuming that's the case, it's only been 10 days. So give it, you know, wait till at least 2 weeks and see if it's beginning to yellow. And maybe if at the 3 week point, it's still not fully gone, you may have to apply it again. And also depending on the maturity of the grass, like how mature the grass is, that will also weigh in as far as how effective the herbicides are going to be. Kind of like most things, like if you're trying to control a weed, it's much easier to control. The easiest way to control a weed is not to have it in the first place, hence pre-emergent, right? The second best way to control a weed is whenever it is young, it's like a baby weed, just trying to find its way in the world, and you smack it with a proper post-emergent herbicide. That's the next way to do it. The worst way to control a weed is for it to get really big and be throwing seed heads and living its best life, and then you try and control it with herbicides, and that's going to be a fight. Because it's healthier, it's stronger, it's got, you know, the root system is more established. It's just more of an uphill battle. So I don't know where your rescue grass is in that part of the life cycle. And again, I'm not familiar with the labels of those two products off the top of my head to know if they're even labeled to control that. But if they are, I still come back to it's only been 10 days. So let's give it some more time and see. All right. Next up is Jesse Rango. Says, outstanding. Thank you for your video, sir. I really helped out. Now I'm back in business. Cool. I'm glad to hear that, man. It's really easy to do. It's just, you literally disconnect one wire and click these two and off you go. So I figure it would help some folks out. So I'm glad that it was useful. And then he says, meaning it's not recommended to apply to a wet lawn like you answered for the previous. Yes, exactly. So anything that has fertilizer in it, particularly nitrogen, you really want to, well, yeah, I mean, and potassium too, both those can burn. You really don't want to apply them to wet grass. when it comes to granular fertilizer that has NPK in them, you really want to avoid applying them to a wet lawn. If you do apply it to a wet lawn, let's say you're one of these people, you say, hey, the only time I have to apply this stuff on my lawn is early in the morning. This is it. My only chance is like, 7 or 8 in the morning. And you do that, as long as you can water it in right afterwards, you're going to be okay. What you don't want to do is, let's say you're like in Florida, right, where it can get hot. And you go out and on a wet lawn, you go out and put out like a weed and feed product that has like, 15% nitrogen in it, and some phosphorus, and maybe 10% potassium. So you go out and you apply that to a wet lawn, and then you don't water it in, and you let it sit on the grass all day. That is when you can start running into problems, because you can very easily burn the grass, or burn the leaf, and cause discoloration. So as long as you water it in right after you apply it, there's a lot less risk. But in general, general guidance is, do not apply granular fertilizer to a wet lawn, because unless you got irrigation, you're going to water it right afterwards, you are taking a chance of damaging the grass. So that's why typically you'll see people, recommend doing it. Okay. All right. And then True Gator Fan says 104 folks watching and 103 likes. Way to go, Lawn Squad. I like it, man. Folks are coming through tonight. Cool, man. It's a good night for the live stream. Well, guys, gals, I think that tis all. That's all the questions we have, all the comments. I think I got everything that you guys had. Hopefully it was useful for you. Big thing I tell you is, if you have not applied your pre-emergent in the Southeast United States, you are wrong. You should get your pre-emergent out, because if you don't, we're going to meet again. We're going to be talking again about this weed that could have been avoided, could have been kept out of your lawn if you just simply applied pre-emergent. So like most things in life, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Pre-emergent is a lot less expensive than the post-emergent herbicides, and allows you to focus on the fun parts of lawn care, like mowing your grass and putting out fertilizer and using growth regulator, and not having to fight with weeds. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Be sure to share the live stream, and if there's anything that I can help out with, don't hesitate to drop me a line. I'll see you guys next week. Have an amazing weekend.